The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con. Now in the second part of today of our Power BI and Fabric stage. Here with me on the stage is Shubhangi Goyal, customer first analytics Power BI dashboard for impact is the topic of today. A warm welcome and the stage is yours.
Thank you, Marcel. Hi, everybody. I'm Shubhangi. I'm going to give a talk on customer first analytics. Before I start, I would like to give a quick introduction about myself. I have spent almost 9 years of my technology career working in data science and AI. Currently work as a senior analyst at Admiral. I'm a very active speaker. I share knowledge actively around data, what's happening in AI, and obviously around data science and ML topics as well. I worked previously at TCS Microsoft Relationship Projects. I was also working after that at ICS. Initially started my career as a student when I was a computer science engineer, and then I transitioned into analytics and then in AI. I'm a mentor. I also actively help a lot of young people break into tech, find roles, and also upskill themselves in the latest technologies. And just in my free time, I like to travel, read, and hike. And also, I'm a Microsoft MVP. Share knowledge again actively on Microsoft technologies as well. So before I start, a quick overview of the agenda today. So I'm going to cover 5 main things in my talk. Firstly, what is a customer first mindset? Like, why is it important when we're trying to build a dashboard? Then a bit more about translation of business questions. So everybody gets some kind of information from the stakeholders, how to convert them into things that actually you as an analyst or you as a reporting lead can understand. Then a bit about dashboards, data visualization, and then lastly about feedback adoption. And this is basically the entire cycle of how customer first analytics work. So moving on to the next part, what exactly does it mean to create something which is called a customer first analytics? Customer first analytics is basically an approach that helps to make sure that you are prioritizing the needs of your customer and making sure that the experience for them is great. Now, too many times you see dashboards are being created, but they're not being actively used by many of the people within the organization. And that happens simply because they are not designed to cater or meet the needs of the customer. So if you make sure that your customer is a centerpiece of the entire dashboard, entire analysis you are doing, it makes sure that you're improving your customer satisfaction and loyalty. You are more effective when you have to make some sort of decision or product development, any kind of retention or reduction in churn, and then lastly competitive advantage, because at the end of the day your stakeholders are the people who are going to use your dashboards. So it's kind of important to make sure that they're happy with the way you have designed it and it actually answers all the business questions that they are looking for. So your stakeholders can come in various forms. They could be execs, like senior leadership people, who are essentially looking for very, very high level insight. They could be just looking for the main numbers or what's a spike or drop in your data, or what has happened at a particular point in time. They could be analysts who are more detail oriented. They need to know information about everything, why there is a gap in number, or why something is not matching up, why our sales are reduced, or why essentially revenues have grown. Or it could be your operations manager who could require information more than in an exec, but maybe less than an analyst. And these are the people who generally sit in the middle of the pipeline, like maybe like above analysts but before execs, and they also need detailed information but not as much as the execs. So the key question sometimes is like when you are dealing with your stakeholders, and who can be also your peers, can be a cross functional team, can be somebody who is like a skip level manager. How do you tackle those business questions? And when you are on meetings and you're presenting your dashboard, it's kind of all the time you get bunch of questions. So how do you design dashboards that caters to like particular business audience or an audience for which the dashboard has been designed? So let's talk a bit more about what happens generally. What happens generally is people deliver on data needs, not like they don't deliver on what is needed, but they deliver on what they think is important. And most of the time, our stakeholders, they end up like waiting and understanding what's the value of this data. And the data sits in multiple different tables, multiple different sources. And when you bring it together, it's not really meeting the satisfaction level of your customers. And this happens far more than we can expect, and that's where the trust that you want to build in your data and your dashboard and your reports comes into play. So I think the first key message from this talk is to first make sure that you deliver on what is needed, not what you think like you would think it's important. So let's say you are an analyst or a reporting analyst, and your job is to make sure you're building a dashboard, for example, for sales KPIs or revenue KPIs. It's kind of important to understand that what the stakeholders actually value, which metrics do they think are important, and in what format do they think it's going to work better for them. So how does it work? The first thing generally is when you get a set of business questions, you have to start finding what kind of data sources you will have. So it's all about also understanding the data inventory. Now, how does data inventory work is like you have a data source, which could be your table, it could be a particular tool, maybe like SAS, or it could be a SQL Server database. So where the data sits, who owns that data? Is it somebody in another team? Is it something about like within your team? How does the data fit together? Then what's the quality of that data? Like is it like, is it consistent, does it have all the right columns that you need for that? And then what are the gaps? So before rushing into building a dashboard, take a step back to make sure that you are doing the mapping and the data inventory and the data discovery process to understand what data already exists and what people think is available but it's not actually there. Generally you can make like a tabular structure or a table to identify like any kind of data sources, like internal, external, identify who the owner is. It could be somebody from the same team, it could be somebody from other team who owns that piece of table or piece of data. What is the refresh cycle of that data? Does it refresh every day, twice a week, thrice a week? What's the refresh cycle? It's a daily refresh. And then who has access? Because these things, they do happen far more than we realize. Like like people just sometimes rush into building something without like doing all these investigation in the start, and sometimes it takes a lot longer to actually produce something which is useful and valuable within the organization. And then lastly, highlight any kind of shadow spreadsheets you have or manual reports, because when people tend to start building like dashboards or reports, they generally are using Excel or like some sort of manual reports early on in the process. So try to map out and understand how those things were created, whatever was the data used for those processes. So this is really like the data discovery process. Once you get a requirement and you understand what kind of data is going to be used, and then once you get all the information, try to design your dashboard for the business and not the builder. So if you are the builder, you should think from a customer mindset, customer first lens, with what is important. So generally, like there are a lot of principles like people will use, but I generally tend to follow five main things. First is value purpose over pixels. Now it's great to have a very visually effective dashboard, but if your dashboard does not answer the so what question, then it kind of loses the purpose altogether. So make your visuals answer the business question. So if a chart is supposed to tell why the sales have dropped, what is the trend of the sales, then it should exactly answer that question. Second point is one message. Too many times you will see on dashboard there are too many charts. Like there are too many charts, they're spread around in different parts. So prioritize clarity. Sometimes less is more, and make sure you group the insights carefully. Anything which has similar wavelength should be placed together. So make sure your one page of the report or your dashboard essentially has one key message, that this particular set of charts or KPIs are around, for example, trading, or is it about sales, or is it about revenue? Put one message as a key message. The third step really is to find users workflow. For example, use filters or time frames, things that they care about. This is a very common question you will see across most of the businesses, where people ask, What's the refresh timing? Can we use these filters on every single chart? What kind of data do we get on this one? When did this refresh last? So make sure you are thinking about these user workflows, because it happens a lot more than we can imagine in day-to-day work of data organizations. The fourth one is narrative over noise. So, like as I said, add comparisons, comments, flags. So, for example, if there was a set of data which was no longer available, or it is a refresh, for example, on a particular date in the month, add some sort of flag or some sort of comparison values or comment to make sure somebody who has not seen the dashboard is able to identify and understand that, hey, this data actually came from this particular date, and it's not something they are reaching out to somebody and like knowing about that later on. So make sure that you put the narrative right in the beginning of it, not after somebody has already seen the dashboard. And then lastly, is a very key component of this process is building for trust. You have to add clear definitions of what a particular KPI or particular metric means. And if something is wrong with your the way you have calculated something or built something, make sure you ensure like put those kind of disclaimer or information wherever needed. This is kind of important because like trust building trust in data is important. A lot of people like think that we'll just create one dashboard and that's gonna be enough, but your stakeholders actually have to believe that the numbers are also right and your charts are actually sending out the right message. So it's important to build a dashboard also for trust. So at the end of the day, design a dashboard for business and not the builder, which means if you are the one building the dashboard, do not think from your lens, do not think that this is important from my lens, so I should create it that way. Think about the user, the audience who's going to use it, and make it and design it in a way that actually caters to their needs. So let's talk a bit more about the process where you get the requirement and you convert that into KPIs. So generally, this is like a six-step process which happens like most of the time. You generally get like a business need. For example, I want a dashboard which is around sales, for example. And then sales is a very broad term. What do you mean by sales? You generally tend to break it down into success criteria. Does it mean sales over month? Does it mean sales over time? Maybe they are looking for last 12 months of data. What does success criteria look like? Then once you have identified that there is like a driver or a lever, how does that sale tie to some other field in your tables? For example, is that impacted by revenue? Is it impacted by say like some other factor, maybe like seasonal factors like months in which sale is done, by agents who are selling that product? So what's the driver, what's the lever of that particular process? Once you have identified the drivers, there is generally a step 4, which is like you convert them into metrics or KPIs, prioritize them and benchmark them. Now, sometimes I've heard in like people saying, hey, like this metric or this value does not look right. But my question then sometimes is, what do you say is good enough? How do you prioritize? How do you manage it? So it's important to benchmark your KPIs. What is the least acceptable value for that KPI or a metric, or like any kind of new piece of information you have created? What's the benchmark value? To try to make sure that you have some sort of benchmarking mechanism through which you create those metrics and KPIs. Then the next step is generally to validate with the stakeholders. So your stakeholders are also experts in data, but they're just experts in different sets of data, maybe not the entire part of the process. So also make sure when you do some sort of initial calculations or build any metrics or KPIs, also validate with them early on in the process, not towards the end of the process. So try to get that feedback early. And then review and iterate. Most of the time people build like dashboards and they just leave it, like they're never looked at, never maintained, and they tend to become a place where like things are just getting collected. So I think it's really important that when you build a dashboard, when you build any page of a report or you add anything, you constantly maintain it and revive it, and like make sure that if there is a new column added or there is a change of KPI or change of calculation, that's actually being reviewed and added to your dashboard. Now let's talk about a little bit more about a use case. So for example, all the 6 steps we discussed, let's take a use case where we have actions and then how do we classify that into critical thinking. So we have a business need, which is basically what the organization is trying to achieve. So let's say they're trying to reduce customer churn rate by 20% over next 6 months. So this is like one of the main question they're trying to solve. Now, what is the success criteria for this question, which means what the success looks like? That means they're trying to increase the retention rate, identify and act on churns early, or maybe they're trying to also increase engagement. Once you have a success criteria penciled in, then you can find the key drivers. So what influences this outcome? So how do I make sure I'm able to reduce the churn rate? So you find, for example, low usage of product, poor user experience, or billing issues, some of the reasons why customer churn can effectively happen. Then you have this kind of information, you check how do you translate that into your KPIs, metrics, and benchmark them. which means you create like a identifiable indicator for each driver, like target value. For example, if the churn is less than 10%, then maybe it's good. So, for example, for usage, you can create DAU, MAU, which is like a stickiness ratio. For experience of customer, you can create NPS, which is Net Promoter Score. For billing, you can create, for example, percentage of billing complaints. So, create the metrics based on the quantifiable target that you set. Once you have created those KPIs and metrics, then you align with the stakeholders. And this is the case when you don't have anything. Let's say you're building from scratch. In many cases, there are some pre-built metrics already like in the organization, but they tend to like sometimes change the value, or they sometimes tend to change the way they are being looked at or calculated. So align them with the stakeholders, which means everybody, the person who is using it, the person who is building it, they are agreeing on definitions and the tools. So for example, if marketing owns NPS and churn, and like that metric comes from that department, you have to make sure the marketing agrees with it. Then product probably owns usage metrics, so the product team should agree with the usage, the way usage is calculated. Finance maybe monitors the billing issue, so the finance team should also agree. So it's not a one person thing, it's a bunch of different teams together working for a same goal. And then lastly, reporting and review, which means like you created a great dashboard, you have got all the alignment you needed, but then at the end of the day, how do you drive business decisions? Because that's what data sits for, right? So actionable insights are drawn and reviewed in cross-functional teams or meetings. So if you have created like a monthly churn dashboard at the end of this process with all the trends, anomalies, and the breakdown by cohort, it's important to review, sit down, and understand what those trends mean. And this essentially is the process. When you have a basic or like a very vague level of requirement in the top, how do you chunk and break it down into steps so that all the parts of the process align well together, and ultimately your stakeholders are happy with what you create towards the end of the process? And this is what happens most of the times in organization. We have 100,000 dashboards, but half of the dashboards nobody has even looked at them, and simply because they're not really designed to answer half of the question. And this is something like which happens a lot because people tend to create reports for every single problem or every single thing. So it's kind of important to make sure that creating dashboards that are going to be effectively used by somebody is basically the main purpose, and not just building them or designing them. So before we go further, I think some of the reasons why dashboards are sometimes not used is like a nice follow up to the previous slide, is like ad hoc request. Because a lot of people are very much accustomed to sending ad hoc request. Can you pull a data for the last 12 months? Can you provide me data for the last 6 months? And that's where ad hoc requests come in. Then analysis paralysis, when you have like too much information, people are sometimes unsure from where to start, where the problem actually sits. So that basically leads to like having ad hoc and like analysis reports essentially, rather than using dashboards. Then complexity, which ruins the momentum, because obviously dashboards can be big, they can contain a lot of information, they have multiple different layers of calculation, semantics. So sometimes complexity also ruins that kind of momentum that comes with dashboard. There are no real insights. So there are a lot of great charts, it looks amazing, has a really great layout, but there are no real insights. So how does business actually derive some value out of it? And then lastly, most more common than ever is lack of trust on that data, because your data does not essentially give the right picture. The numbers expected versus the number that are on your dashboard do not really align well, and they happen quite a lot in various organizations. So that's why a lot of times dashboard do not land up in the way they should be. So how do we design effective dashboards? Let's talk a little bit about that. So obviously it's a very popular term already. Wireframes are used by a lot of people. This is an example of one of the wireframes I just created on my iPad, and I just imported that image here. But you can create wireframes in different ways. It's a process of creating like a visual mock-up of your dashboard without actually creating first one. And why is it important? Because it helps you to structure the layout, the functionality, the things and the small key components that you would want to be a part of this process. um, so for example, you can use different tools for wireframing, like low fidelity, as I said, like paper sketches. You can use whiteboards in your offices or like team meetings. You can use PowerPoint sometime. High fidelity tools could be like Figma. You can use Adobe. There are like various tools in the market right now. This is basically a simple example of like how you can create a wireframe. So in the top left, I just gave a name for a dashboard, for example, an executive KPI dashboard. On the left, I want a set of filters because I want it to be dynamic. I want my stakeholders to filter by the financial year, the department they are, or for example, if they're a particular region, like maybe like or a segment. On the top, I have given like 3 to 5 KPIs. So obviously people tend to give a lot more KPIs. I tend to prefer a lot less KPIs. So I put, for example, 3 to 5 KPIs on the top: revenue, profit, margin, and NPS. And then on the top right corner, generally like a notification alert or maybe something denoting like the refresh, what was the last refresh time. Then as you go downwards, you can see like there's like charts, for example, column chart, then there are some derived insights. And this is some of the another way you can design a dashboard. You can provide some information or call outs where people can put some information. For example, if you're expecting the sales data to start from March, you can put that on a small call out in the dashboard indicating that the data starts from March. And then towards, if you have any detailed data or a table sort of data, you can put it at the bottom so that like somebody who wants to look at a detailed set of data, maybe like a last month data or a last 7 days of data, they can still look at the table, but it should not be in the top of your dashboard, because then the whole purpose of building a dashboard gets defeated. So it's something should be towards the end, towards something like it should not be the top priority of putting like a detailed set of data on our dashboard. Try to make it more condensed and give it a nice structure. So yeah, dashboard wireframing is a very very effective process. A lot of times people do tend to skip it, but it works quite well if you really want to save your time and visualize your dashboard without actually putting hours of effort in, and helps really well for like for your teams to review it and like build that functionality, not just like within your team but like in your cross functional teams or with also your stakeholders. It's a very good way of like brainstorming that. Then let's talk a bit about design principles. So I'm not gonna go detail into design principles because obviously this talk isn't about designing just. So I tend to generally use like a Z or a F framework, which is most popular framework. A lot of people use it. In Z framework, you tend to keep like 3 to 5 KPIs on the top. Then you can put a set of charts in this one, and then like some charts towards the bottom. Or like an F framework, which is like I put like a set of vertical KPIs on the left side of the panel and then some towards the right, and then here I can put a bunch of other things. Now the main thing here is like tend to generally travel in Z pattern, or like they work better in like F pattern, and this is one of the reason why like a lot of people do prefer it. um you can find tons and tons of examples around this framework, and a lot of people also design it like they use a reverse F framework where basically they put a bunch of these KPIs towards the right side, so that helps them to design the dashboards effectively. And obviously like keeping the layout as simple as possible generally works well, because it's not necessary that the people who are going to use this dashboard, they're very accustomed to using very very complicated layouts or complicated charts. So it's generally advisable or better to keep things simple, or in other words you would say less is more. So this is one of the ways you can design like a like a top level layout for your dashboards. Then let's talk about a bit more about design principles. I mean, this is again like very like important set of principles. They're very very popular. It's like just Charles design principles, and this is basically how humans tend to perceive structures and patterns. And this is how like most of the times in dashboards also you might see some sort of shape or form exist. Again, like there are five main things which I personally like about these principles is like people see whole not parts, which means like your dashboard is not going to be seen or judged based on one or two charts. It's as a whole as a product. So they don't tend to see that one chart is good or one chart is bad. And second one is visual proximity creates meaning, which means like things which are going to be similar or which are like more like tend to have similar pattern structure, they can be kept together. For example, in our previous example we have KPIs, so you can group all the KPIs and put them on the top panel or on the left side together so that they're similar to each other. Then the third one is consistency drives clarity. This is pretty simple. If your KPIs that you have created are in the same design format and they're stacked next to each other nicely on your dashboard, it's more clear and understandable than making different kinds of layout for every single type of charts or visual. Fourth one is simplicity aids comprehension, which is like if you keep spaced out charts simple from one to another, it is generally easy to comprehend. And then lastly, using contrast effectively on a dashboard. Like I've seen a lot of dashboards where people tend to use like different versions of colors, which are not really effective. So make sure you use contrast effectively when you are designing your dashboards. So some of the examples that I want to also give is like you might see these design principles quite effectively in some other places as well. So for example, this is the Google Workspace. So you can see all the objects that are similar, they're grouped together. So all the icons like Gmail, Drive, calendar, all these things are like together. So this is how like this is the first example of like how similar things can be grouped together, like proximity. Then this is another example of like objects that look alike, they can be together. For example, this is a Zoom page, and you can see like they have kept all the menu stuff on the top and all the similar buttons at one point, like in one particular space. This is a good example of like how things which are like again like similar in uh, structure, they can be placed together. The fourth one here is an example of Pinterest. So obviously, I really like Pinterest, the way they design their website. So that's why I took this example. So Pinterest basically has continuous lines and patterns. So if you look at the way they lay out things together, it's like continuous, like it's one after the other. So you can find like that this kind of the way it has been designed is like sequential, and in some capacity, like when you design things, it's important to make sure they're stacked nicely one after the other. And then lastly, this is an example of like when Google generally, they have some sort of event or like some holiday, they tend to like put some nice icons on their on their logo. And obviously we all know that the second and the third letter is O, but then like they, for example, in this one they have made it 25, so we tend to complete those incomplete shapes in our mind. So again, this is like very high level. There are a lot of examples around visualization out there, but this is just to make sure that when you are designing dashboards, sometimes making sure the structure, the grouping, and then the way you like put the patterns really do matter to just keep it simple and concise and making it easy to comprehend. um, so let's talk a little bit more in detail about visualization. So for example, you can always make sure that pie chart, I know like a lot of people do not like pie chart, but then like if you ever use a pie chart, let's say in a report, if you see these two, obviously the right one is more effective, simply because it's nicely labeled, it has a theme of colors. The darker the color, the higher the value is, and it is like a better way of representing a pie chart compared to the left one. So when you're building the right visuals, make sure you pick the right chart, use sort of like proper labels and titles, and use the colors effectively. Most of the organizations, they use like their own branding, so make sure you use those colors generally to make shapes or sizes, get rid of any like unwanted elements, and then keep on refining it. This is what something I personally like, that if you build a dashboard or build anything, it's not enough to like just build it and leave it. You have to keep on refining it over the course of time to make sure it keeps on meeting the right particular standards. In more details about building the right visuals, again, like if you want comparison, you can use bar chart, group bar chart, or bubble chart or area chart. And for like more sort of data which is over time, like trend lines, line chart is generally like which I personally like, or area chart to depict any kind of information. For correlations, you can use like bubble chart or scatter plot. And simply for the other bits, for example, distribution, part to whole, ranking, there are a lot of different charts. I tend to use donut chart a lot for part to whole, and I know a lot of people also use stacked bar chart. But I think it's also dependent on like what kind of data you have, and then what kind of visual actually fits in the way you design a dashboard. So I think picking the visual that would work best also depends a bit on your data and the kind of dashboard you are designing, and some personal choices as well. So these are some of the examples of how you can pick up the right visuals for your dashboard. And then I think once you have built entire dashboard, what is important is implementing feedback, because this is this happens literally in every part of the process. So once you have designed dashboard, you generally will do like a show and tell discussion where your stakeholders and your team or you will sit, and you will try to discuss what you have created. I tend to look, for example, on dashboards like as a product. I don't look them as just dashboards or reports. So, and you do tend to get feedback. You can get feedback from your peers, you can get feedback from cross functional teams, you can get feedback from like your direct stakeholders or anybody. So you should treat feedback as a product input. So if your dashboard is a product, it's your product input. And that's really like important to understand, that when you get an input, how do you implement it? You can gather it at early key touch points. So if you do like a sequence of meetings early on in the process, you can gather that information on those key touch points, get the idea of like how do they feel about the numbers, what is the thing they're really looking for in the dashboard. Then prioritize value versus effort. So let's say you get 10 different things or 15 different things from your stakeholders in terms of like what do you want to do. So generally it's best to see where the value sits the most, which means like if you are getting 10 different changes to do on your dashboard, what five changes you will do where the value sits the most. So it's like understanding value versus effort, finding the quick wins essentially. Then in the fourth step, you can implement it iteratively releases. So it's not necessary that you implement the whole feedback in one go. Maybe you don't have enough time, maybe there is a shorter deadline available, so you can implement that feedback in step by step process. Maybe like in a week's time you can make five changes, then maybe next week another five changes. So set a timeline, make sure that all the changes that are being asked are implemented over the course of time. And then lastly, track adoption. So once you have implemented the changes, track adoption. Most of the tools like Power BI also has a usage report. Similarly, other tools have. Make sure you track how it is being used after adoption, because building something is one thing and actually getting people to use is a second thing. So make sure you are like tracking the adoption like step by step and those changes that you have done. A framework which generally works quite well is, you get a feedback, you take action based on that feedback, and then you see an outcome. So for example, like there's a chart you have created and you saw there is a drop in revenue. So let's say you have a meeting with your stakeholder and you decide, I will add a year on year comparison. Once you added that, did it increase the usage? Did you get less clarification emails? Because once, generally when you start the process, when you create a dashboard or any report, people do tend to ask a lot of questions. They will ask you, how have you created, I don't see this data, how can I filter this data? So if you're getting less clarification emails and increased usage in like your usage report, it tends to show that okay, there is a heavy level of engagement in the way your dashboard has been created, and people actually are seeing the value in what you have created. So make sure to like implement feedback effectively. A lot of times it is like people either don't implement it or they implement like everything. So make like always identify where the value sits more, and based on that like implement your feedback, and then step by step implement the rest of it. This is important because most of the time the feedback comes out of like the need to understand how a dashboard or a report is being built, and always treat it as a product input, not like a feedback. So if you treat it as a product input, you generally tend to see it like it in a way that okay, making this change will effectively make someone's job easier, maybe like help create better business recommendation. So that's why implementing feedback is kind of important. So, and at the end of the day, always be clear about what you're trying to achieve when you make a dashboard. Don't just make a dashboard because you have a set of data available. Always make sure that you have a clear purpose in mind when you're building it. So after you've built it, now generally there is a last step. Then like understanding how do you measure like a success of a dashboard. What are the steps or strategies you can use? Because um, like generally like I've seen like a lot of times that people tend to ask, what was the impact? Did the stakeholders like the dashboard? So some of the things which you can do is, for example, surveys or feedback. As I said, like ask your audience, ask the people who are gonna use if they understand the dashboard. You can also do like some polls to understand if they have comprehension or they do understand how the metrics are being created. You can also track the time spent on your dashboard, how many interactions you are getting or questions people are asking. For example, more questions can also indicate curiosity, but they can also be like, hey, we don't understand what is being created here. um, are there any decisions being made? Did the dashboard lead to like any kind of decision process or policy change? Were there any follow-up actions, like any recommendations you saw that were actually implemented out of the dashboard you created? Was there any like change in the way team and your people around you are actually approaching the data now? So these are some of the things. Then you can also see that if the dashboard continues to show those kind of measurable improvements, like did you see any reduced churn, increased sale? Was there any ROI, which means like the time and effort spent on building the dashboard, was it justified by the outcomes? So, and then lastly, obviously sharing, like was that dashboard shared? Because when you create a great dashboard or when you create like a great data product, I would say, it generally like people really like to like share that information with everybody. So if this is something happening around you, then it generally shows that your dashboard or the piece of work you have done is really really effective. So like these are some of the ways you can also measure the success of your dashboard, if the all the steps that you have taken have actually led to something. And finally, I'm going to cover some of the key takeaways. So obviously, start first with the user. Who will use a dashboard? What decisions are going to be made and what questions need to be answered? Then design for action. For example, great dashboards, they influence decision. They're not just there to show the data. So if your dashboard influences some decision and the stakeholders trust it, then you can say it has been designed for action. Speak the language of your users. Do not use technical jargons. Like simplify the language for the business terms. Do not use any technical jargons on your dashboards. Emphasize context. Context is essentially where your storytelling comes into play. And obviously, like this talk isn't about storytelling, but it helps to transform data into story, which means like give meaning to your data, like charts and narratives, and what is basically you should be discussing about. It's really important to emphasize the context. And then lastly is trustworthiness. So as I said, like It's a very common thing. Everybody is going to ask you, show the last update timestamps, flag data that you're not sure of, like mark that you are reviewing that particular chart, include a glossary, maybe like a definition or notes. And that essentially helps to make sure that your dashboard is essentially taken like as a trustworthy piece of work, and that your data is actually effective. And then at the end of the day, remember, it's for the people. It's not just something you create for data. This dashboard is gonna be used by the people, so always remember that it is something which is gonna set for other people who are gonna like use it, see it, use all the filters and the slices that you have in the dashboard. These are some of the resources you should, if you want to like learn more about it. This book is really great, like I do recommend it all the time. It has all the amazing like features about like how do you want to like visualize data, or like present data, and like also interpret it. So if you want to go ahead and like read about it, for sure go and read about it. And then yeah, if you want to connect with me, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And yeah, keep evolving your dashboards. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you should be very interesting. So one question, you show the mock-up example at the start. The best way to translate the customer goes into a clear visual and layout decision. Is it better to start with a mock-up, or to work in the first part more, I would say, functional like, and make the design after? So Paula Garcia was today here and talk about the two kind of Power BI designs, and designer and an artist. And so this is this is, I think, an important question. How do you handle this? More result like, or more design like at first, regarding to mockups?
So, I mean, like, so I've obviously been a part of multiple projects. So I've seen like more often that we tend to prioritize like in the start of the process design a lot more. But the moment like, we like go to a meeting or we show it to somebody, and they see that this data does not make sense. Like, you tend to just lose it there itself. Like then your design kind of becomes like secondary in the process. So I think like before you actually start building the dashboard, obviously design is one definitely important component, but I think the data, the numbers that you put there, the metrics, what do they mean? Because data sits, as you I mean you all already would be aware, data sits in an organization because we want to support the business. We want to give them the right insights and recommendations, and it's only possible when the data is prioritized a lot more in the start of the process. So if those steps are taken before, understanding what do they really want, and understanding what kind of metrics do you need, I think that in the reverse cycle actually works better. And obviously once you get all that sorted, then you can as much as want like spend your time on designing it and making it better. um and then in designing also, I've seen like sometimes, like I've seen people making very very complicated charts which could be sometimes hard to interpret. And then it could also lead to like a lot of confusion, because sometimes stakeholders are more accustomed to, let's say, simplified version of charts, simply because this is what they're used to, and maybe they might learn, maybe they might not, we don't know. So either you provide training so that they can use it effectively, like training and adoption becomes a big part, especially if you're migrating from one tool to another. And I think like when we tend to like build the dashboard, if you're really conscious that I also want to prioritize design, then I think doing a mock-up, like maybe a wireframe, which could be on any tool, like it doesn't have to be really like a proper tool. It could be like on a PowerPoint also, or as simple as that. You can always show them some ideas in the start, but then again, like you will still need some metrics, right? How would you label that? You can't just put like KPI 1, KPI 2. You still need to show that these are some of the metrics I'm gonna create. And until and unless you already have those metrics, which means like predefined, or you already know this is what you're gonna put, it's kind of hard for people to visualize stuff, without them seeing it. So it's like find the data first, create like a mock-up, and then do one like discussion to like get alignment, and then you can crack on with like the rest of the process, because it tends to save time towards the end. Otherwise, it's generally like you have to keep on just changing till the end of the process.
Really interesting. So I know one of our speakers here, this is Lucas Pavelka. He works, he has still built an Power Apps for Figma add-on, and he works on an Power BI for Figma add-on. And he questioned me who could help him regarding to the design and the insight. And this could be, I would say, fill the artist part for Power BI, because to start only with a mockup is I think a little bit waste of time, because it's only in paper or digital drawing. And Figma and Power BI to bring Figma and Power BI together is a great idea, I think, from Lucas. And so, yeah, if you want, you can connect with him. He would be happy, I think. He said to me he's searching for an Power BI expert, and I think you are the totally right person here. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, I want to thank you. I think it was a really, really good session, really structured with a lot of informations that helps a lot to start with a new dashboard scenario or customer scenario. Our next session is Laura Graham Brown with translytical flows versus embedding Power App in Power BI. I think in nearly 90 minutes. I want to thank you. It was amazing. I hope you see us again. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, New features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action. Real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action. Real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action. Real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement. 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con. Today our Power BI and Fabric stage is Laura Graham Brown. A warm welcome to you. And the topic of today is translytical flows versus embedding a Power App in Power BI. Feel free to start if you have any question. Yeah, we are in the background and help you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the session, guys. We're going to translytical flows, a recent addition to the Fabric set of tools that are out there. So let me start with a quick introduction. My name's Laura Graham Brown, or more commonly known as Laura GB. I've got a blog, a hatful of data, and a YouTube channel where I put up. It's my notebook. It's my how I've worked something out and how to do something. At the minute, I'm going through a session or a set of blog posts on variable libraries, and translytical flows are the next topic that's going to be in there. I'm also a data platform MVP, which basically means I get to shout at Microsoft, which is great fun. I'm also a freelance consultant, so I work with a number of partners. I work with a number of my own clients to step in as a trainer, consultant, developer, all sorts of bits, helping with adoption, etc. Please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, etc. I'm also on Reddit. I no longer post on Twitter. So one of my issues in life is I have ADHD, so my brain never stops. So rather than having a picture of me on this slide, I have a picture of what is one of my pastimes, playing games. And this is a fantastic game of After Us. Once all the humans are gone, how the monkey's going to survive. And it's a great trading game. It's strategy board games are the way my brain turns off. So let's get on to the topic. You build a report that feeds into a database, pulls data out of a database. Okay, so we've got the report over here, we've got a database here. It's pulling data through, and that's all great. And then some bright spark, they come up with a number of things they want to do on flows, on Power BI reports. And the one of them is, can I print it? The answer is no. The next question is, can I have write back? Can I put commentary in? Can I put adjustments in? And I'd love to say no. But when the client is paying and the client is charging, and we can charge the client for doing it, we go, yeah, sure, fine, we'll do it. So up to previously, our only option really was to embed a Power App. And the Power App would have the input boxes, have the button to press, it could push into the database, and that would then pull back into the report. Great, fantastic, lovely. Has some issues. Has some issues that the Power Apps are a joy to embed and hard work to embed, and you require skills to write a Power App rather than writing a Power BI report. It's a different skill, different set. And you also, if you are connecting to a database and you've got a direct query report, so i.e. your SQL Server, your Fabric database, or something similar, you're going to need a Power Apps license to run that. So that's an extra cost. That's an extra thing. I've got a comparison slide at the end of this deck. So that's an extra cost, an extra complication, and your data team and your Power BI team quite often don't want to go and play in a Power App. So that's a challenge. It works, but it's a challenge. So the Fabric team came up with an alternative, which is inside your report, you have your input boxes and all the things you want to be able to do. You then put a button inside your report. That button calls what's called a user-defined function. And that user-defined function is written in Python, and that Python writes back to the database. Okay, so it all works, and it's lovely. And also, it opens up the possibilities, as does the Power Apps. You could also have a Power Automate flow as well if you wanted. They give you options to do other things. So I'm going with a real simple write back idea, but this is a tip for an iceberg, that this user-defined function or that Power App could trigger all sorts of things. Someone enters an adjustment, it starts an approval process, etc., etc. That could go round, okay? And And then so that's what we're looking at as an option. So what we're gonna do, I think my next slide says, let's move on to looking at a demo. Okay, all very well talking about this in theory, but I'd much rather show you it actually in action. So I'm just hoping when I do this, yep, we move across. So here I have a Power BI workspace or Fabric. Sorry, let's call it. Let's get it right. A Fabric workspace. I use the flows to be able to illustrate the structure I've got here. So in the storage, I've got a SQL database. Okay, and off that SQL database. So if I can have a look at that SQL database, we've got 3 tables. I've got a calendar and some sales, real simple. And what we're going to have is adjustments that people can add to it. I'll show you how that looks in a report in a second. So that's those 3. Then if we go to, and off that, I've then built a semantic model. And this semantic model is direct lake connection. So changes in the data should come through pretty quickly. And we've got the columns are mostly hidden. I've added a couple of really, really simple measures. So this simple measure here is just a sum. I'm hoping if I hide that. No, it's not going to show me the formula. That's a shame. It's just simple sums. So add up that adjustment amount, add up the sales, add up the sales, and take the sales and add on the adjustments is the adjusted sales. And a calendar. We'll come on to that when we get to that. So that's what I've got behind the scenes. And I've got a report here, which we can see in here. We've got the sales for each month over the different years. And the dark blue is the adjustments that have been put in. Now, I will confess this is a very simple report. We don't have any negative adjustments. We just have positive adjustments. Okay, so bear with me. I'm going with simplicity for demo's sake rather than actual. If we were doing this actual, I probably would have the original sales and adjusted sales as 2 columns in here and working through. But I wanted you to see the dark blue coming through when we add it. And I've deliberately left a space over here that we're going to put in our form. But just like in any programming language, we are going to put in the real simple versions. Every programming language, I think you should learn the hello world. So we're going to go to our part here. By the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. I've got it on my side screen here, so I will look across and keep track of the comments as well. So if you've got any questions now, feel free to add them. Oh, and there's a comment on the screen. Just seen it. Great, thank you. Right, so let's start by going to our workspace. So I've done a Blue Peter. So for the Brits amongst us, Blue Peter was a kids program that used to do crafts, and there was always the line halfway through them building the craft. It goes, and here's one we built earlier. So that's if it all goes horribly wrong, we have a Blue Peter version. So this comes under the develop side here, and if you're using task flows, I can just click new item, and over here it gives me the options, and I'm going to go for a user data functions. M365 demo. Amuses me the things you're allowed to put spaces in the names of and the things you're not. You are allowed here. So this takes us in, and you put multiple functions into the same user-defined function library. Okay, so we're going to click new function. Give it a moment. And here we are. We've got real simple These are the libraries. So for those who know Python, my apologies, I'm going to keep this simple. Here are the libraries that we're going to be using today. It sets up what the UTF is, and then this is the first function. Okay, and when you click the publish button, off it goes, and it publishes that. I forgot it hit it. And what it does, and it's publishing down here. So while it's doing that, we'll talk about it. What we've got is we've got the name of our function, Hello Fabric. What's in the brackets is the parameter going in, and it returns a string. So it logs something, and it does a return here. Okay. Whilst that's being published, we can prove it's working without having to go to Power BI first. We can come into here, we can click the test button, and that opens a panel over here. And I can put in and I'm going to copy the name. I'm going to pronounce it wrong of somebody that said hi in chat. Akinola, I think. And if I click test, it's really weird. Sometimes you have to click test twice, it feels like. But I think that's because the button moved. Now, it's taking a while because actually behind the scenes, what it's having to do is it's having to fire up a Spark session. It's also publishing at the same time, but it's all right. It's okay. So welcome to Fabric Functions. There we go, Akinola, and it's given us a date and time. Okay, and there is a the logging is that line that appeared there, appears in there. I have to confess, the message underneath, I don't know what it means, and I haven't had a chance to go and chuck it into GitHub Copilot to find out what it means. But I think if we run it again, I think it doesn't show it. Yeah, so it only shows it the first time. So I obviously need to go and work out that one before I write my blog posts. So that's real simple. So let's go and do that in Power BI. So here I am in my Power BI report. It's the report you saw published, just with an extra page for employee. And so we're going to start by, we need to have an input for them to input the name. So we're going to put in a text slicer, the new text slicer. That's one of the reasons for this new text slicer. And we're going to put into their name. So I've got a box. Somebody can enter something in. Let's go onto the insert ribbon and let's add in a button. So we're going to add in a blank button. They always appear in the top left-hand corner in the wrong place. Always annoys me. So to that button, yes, we can do all the formatting. We can add text, etc., etc. But what I'm going to concentrate on today is in the bottom right-hand corner over here, we're adding in an action. Let me see if I can make that bigger. Not really. We're adding in an action, and down here, we're going to pick the data function. Okay, and it's going to ask you to go and find your data functions. Assuming it's finished publishing, I'm hoping it has. So there we are. There's my Blue Peter one, but here's my current one. If I expand it, there is my Hello Fabric, and I click connect. And then what it does is it gives me the parameters. Now, if you're going to feed it from a slicer, which is the easiest way to do it, if I drop that down, you'll see it gives me the name of my slicer. There we go. And that should work. So if I type into here, let's do my name. The button becomes active. Now we're in desktop, so I'm going to hold the control key down while I click the button. It takes a moment to think about life and do things. And there we are. Request submitted. Welcome to Fabric Functions. It's given me a return. The showing the details just shows you which data function ran. Okay, real simple, but it proves it works. So let's go back to our functions and let's look at doing something slightly more complicated. Okay, now one of the brilliant things I think they've done in Fabric is bring in some good examples and some low-code solutions for people. Low code as in they give us some samples. So if I go on the edit ribbon here, we can see there's insert samples. And so there are a whole bunch of different things that we can do in here, all inside these user-defined functions. Now, there's multiple uses for these user-defined functions. There are other uses out there that I'll talk about in a little bit. But I know I've got a SQL database. I want to write one row of data into a table. So let's take that sample and see what it puts in. So in this one here, the first thing it's talking about is the connections. Okay, so which database is it going to connect to? And it's asking for an alias up here. And it gives you instructions. Manage connections. So you're going to manage connections. And we're going to add a connection. And there we are. But if you look, it's got all of my weird and wonderful names of databases. And so lake houses, warehouses, and my little SQL database for this example. So we're going to click connect. And it comes up with part there. The part you need to know is the name that it's put in here. So M365 Finance. So into here. M365 Finance, okay? So let's have a quick look at what it's doing. These two lines are saying that we're setting, that's the connection being set up and that's the function being set up. Okay, this is that. So, and then we've got a name of a function there, which is pretty horrible, but we're going to leave it because I'm not going to edit this code apart from that bit at the top. We're just going to run it. It's asking for an employee ID, employee name, and a department ID. So we're going to have some extra boxes to input. Then here is a description of what it's doing. Okay, that's totally optional. Commentary, not actually required. It then puts the three values that we put into there into a unit that we can use later, into a construct. And then it does the connection. And then it writes a bit of SQL, which, by the way, this is fine for a demo, but no one's ever going to let you do this in a real system. If the table doesn't exist, make a table. We're never going to let somebody make a table from a button in a report. Your DBAs would cry. So we're going to go with creating a table because we know it doesn't exist. Because back in just to prove to you, it really doesn't exist. It's not there. Okay, I'll prove it. I'll do my refresh and everything. It's definitely not there. And then we write a SQL statement here, a real simple SQL statement. Insert into employee the table. Here are the three columns we're going to import, and the three question marks are the three values that are going to be passed through. And when you run it, data gets put in as the second part, i.e., the three values that have been put up here. These could be calculations. These could be all sorts of other things that you're putting in there, but we're keeping it simple. And then employee table was created and data was added to this table. Okay, so, and I'm just going to I am going to tweak one thing just to prove that we are doing something in here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in plus is how you can concatenate strings in Python. And we already had up here, we had employee name. And so was added to this table. Yeah, sounds good to me. So we're then going to go and publish. One of the, as I was trying to run through these demos yesterday, one of the oddities in here is publishing. You can only publish. There has to be a 2-minute gap between all your publishes, which yesterday when I was trying to tweak things and get things to work, just drove me nuts. It's like, why can't I just publish now? Or why can I stop the publish now and I'll restart? No. So you have to remember these are new. Okay, so user-defined functions are new. The idea of using translytical flows are new. So there are going to be some minor oddities that we're gonna come across. So while that's going, let's go to our Power BI report and prep up that. So I'm going to put in a text slicer. I am liking the fact that it gives me the option to just type in the name. So we're going to go with employee. Now, obviously, you'd want this employee ID to not be like this, but to be auto created. I can't do it in there because, of course, I've done it there now. So I need to go to title, employee name. And let's copy that one again. And into there, we're going to put department ID. Now, these could be a drop down, list of departments, etc., and all those kind of things we can put into there. The one thing, if anybody knows how to do, please do send me a link. Changing that wording that says enter text. I haven't worked out how to change that. That'd be nice. I have done some research and I can't find it anywhere. Anyway, let's see how that. No, that's not what we want. Let's see how that publishing is going. It's published. Great. So now let's go and insert a button. And let's just do one extra thing in here. Button style, just to prove that I can. In the button style, I can turn on the text and I can put in add employee. There we go. Just to prove we can have these buttons working. So let's go down and sort out the action. So we're going to come into here and we're going to go for a data function. And we're going to go for into here. There is my one. And we are going to click connect. So it wants an employee ID. So we can just pick the right boxes. Across there. So let's go and put in. Now, if I put in a name into here, let's put in Fred, and let's put him in department 12. Okay, so those are all working, and the box looks active. If we are going to, if we put something in here that's not text, that's not a number, it won't work. Okay, and it even gives you a reason. Well, kind of reason. Okay, so but possibly you could also put in some nice display text in there as well, etc. I realise this is not a pretty form. I want to go. You have to press the cross. That's it. Department ID. Let's put it back to 12. There we go. So if I now go and click the button, off it goes. And Fred was added to this table. Yeah, so we can see we managed to put the name in, etc. And if we go back and look into our table here, let's hope the demo gremlins are still playing ball. Here we go. And there's our employee table. And there we are. Fred is in department 12. Okay. So we can do those parts and that appears to work. Great, lovely. Adding those kind of things in, I possibly would turn around and go, this is not the way to add employees. Please build a proper app and maybe do it the other way around, build your app and embed your Power BI reports into there. But this works, okay? You're never going to create tables on the fly. That's not going to happen. You're never going to give a user permission to create, because obviously in order to for me to create that table and data, I have to have edit rights in this database. So you have to think about that really carefully. And you might not have this all going to the same database. You might have this going to a database for the adjustments, and everything else is in a separate database. So somebody can't potentially come in here and edit the sales. You give them write access, they can potentially do that. So let's move on to the more complicated version. Okay. So I want to be able to add an adjustment. It's not more complicated. It's just not off one of the insert samples. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy, and you have to copy all the way up to the UDF part. Okay. And we're going to immediately change that code to be add adjustment. Okay. Now I'm going to slightly cheat because what I have done is so it's not cheating. It's you don't need to watch me painfully type. I'm actually going to, I've got all the function code pre-written. I've published it up on my GitHub. I will give you a link on one of the last slides that gives you a link to everything we're doing here. Okay. So actually, I'm going to copy and paste this line in just because it saves me getting it wrong. So add adjustment. We're using the same connection. We've got a date as one of our inputs and amounts as our other input. Okay, which means down here, so all of this bit here, just to prove we don't need it, I'm going to delete it. I mean, I recommend that you fill these kind of things in. Future you will thank you for filling them in, but for demo purposes, I'm removing it today. Date and amount are going to be, oh, let's spell amount. Oh, it even helps you. Date and amount. Okay, the two things coming through. So we're going to connect. We're not creating any tables. So that is that section there. Gone. I'm going to add a couple of blank lines on the bottom just to move this up a bit. There we go. So we've got the data amount, we've got the cursor. So our insert query. And we might as well follow the pattern that they have built. Use the same kind of structure, use the same kind of thing. It all helps. So insert into adjustments. The two columns are called Adj date and Adj amount. Please don't shoot me for my naming convention. And we're gonna, so that puts those, and there's our two values going in. It runs the query, it does the connect. The other nice one to put into here is if you're not a Python person and you haven't come across F strings, you really should, because they make life a little bit easier. Adjustment on date was added at okay, so that gives me a nice return. So that's fine. Let's set off publishing that. So while that's publishing, gets you excited, but it's down here. Publishing's down here. While that's publishing, let's go and have a little look over here, and let's go on to our adjustments page. So we're keeping this really simple. I'm not going to ask people to enter a date because that's just asking for trouble. People don't enter dates in right. So what I'm going to do into here is I'm going to add in a slicer. I'm going to add in one of those button slicers. And we're going to add in from the calendar, we're going to add in the month name. Okay. Why has that changed? There we go. Thank you. And that's only showing 9 months, but on the multi-button layouts, we're going to go for 4 rows, and they are very conveniently, it shows me all the months. And you could format that to be prettier, etc. Or it could just be a drop down, whichever you like. I'm going with simple. And there's all sorts of nice things in here you could do about your slicer settings. I could go single select, and also force a selection. That has the problem, it affects the chart. So we're just going to fix that for a second. I'm going to go format, edit interactions, don't affect the chart, but I want it to affect other things. So you do need to think about that and how this works. Okay. I'm then going to put in an input box. Adjustment amount. Okay. And then we are going to put in a button. That's not where it comes from. I wish it did come from there because that seems logical to me, but never mind. Any button, by the way, works. Really does. The buttons are just how they look visually, the presets. We're going to add an action. We're going to make it a data function. We're going to go and pick our data function and see if it's been published yet. It has. I'm going to click connect. So, date. I have been through this loop a few times. We had to get the date to be a string. So I thought, well, it's easy. I will go for the minimum date and I'll make it into a string. I'll format it. It'll be a measure. And Alex, I've just noticed Alex Powers is in the chat. Alex, I've got things to complain about. That I want to be able to put a measure into that date. You can't. It doesn't work. It will not format a measure to be a string, so therefore it just doesn't work. So what I've ended up doing is in my calendar, I have a column that's called date string, which is the date in a string format. And so I'm going to go for, and I've deliberately done it year, month, day, so that it'll work in SQL. We don't have to worry about international formats, etc. Now, it's not a drop down, so it's not appearing there. So in order to pick up that minimum date string, I'm going to click the FX button. And I'm going to, what field should we base this on? So we're going to go to calendar. And there we are. And if you notice, it grays out, which is nice. It grays out the things that don't match what we need. We need a string. And by the way, data apparently isn't a string. So I've got date strings. And we're going to go for the first one there, and we're going to click OK. So that's given me a date, and you see it gives you a little FX button so that you can edit it, etc. The amount is going to come off the adjustment amount. So, and there's also a little button here, auto clear, which is nice. It will clear that box after I press this button. That's cool, I'll go with that. Or you could choose not to. Please note the refresh report after successful outcome. Remember that button's on, please. We'll come to that later. Although I realise I've only got 10 minutes left. So let's put in, we're going to go for May. Okay. And let's put in 500 because we'll notice that. I'm going to go and press the button. There we go. Details are in there. Now, this is desktop. So in order to make this work, we need to do a refresh so we get to see it. Did I click it? Come on, give me the refresh properly. I'm going to prove it works. Back into here. If I go to here and I do, wow, did it not work? There we go. May has got a figure in there. In the published version, we can see it's come through. Okay, so that worked. What we're going to do is we're going to take this report and I'm just going to publish it over that report that we've got in the service. So let's go and have a look at that in the service. Okay, let's just do a quick refresh of that page. So there we are. We've got our parts in there. And so let's go for putting something in July and let's put in an amount. What they need to, you also need to move off the amount before you can press the button. And when you press the button, a couple of things. Yes, it cleared the text. Great. Love that. My little dialogue pop-up is now up in this little corner and vanishes after a short while. And also the report doesn't refresh. Okay, it doesn't refresh. But if I look at under my notifications, there is my notifications. I can click on the details and it will show me what happened. So I kind of like that, but it still hasn't refreshed my report. If I go and do a refresh visuals, there we are. It's now come in. So it's not instantaneous as some of the demos. I now know there's some Microsoft people in here, but some of the Microsoft demos, it shows like it's instantaneous. It's not. But it does work. Okay, and I've used this really successfully with one client for a feedback form on the report. We added a tab, we put in some boxes, people can type stuff in, press a button, and it works great. I'm also working with another client who is thinking of being able to get users to adjust forecasts. 1 or 2 adjustments a month. It's going to be great. They're not doing huge things, and it's going to work for them. So I think that works. Let's go and have a look at a couple of, I've got a couple more minutes. Okay, right. Let's go back to my parts here. Some bits of, so I am not a Python programmer. Okay, and I apologize to any Python programmers in here if I'm going to break all the rules. Please let me know what I've done wrong. But one of the things we can do is we can do a test. Okay. And if I put into here, it won't let you put text in here. It does tell you. So if I put into there a proper amount, so 400, but in my string, obviously that's a string. So I can put in today, right? And if I just click test, or if a user does this actually in the report, you don't get a good message back. Okay. It's thinking about it. I'm hoping it's thinking about it, and it fails, and you don't get a good message back in Power BI. You don't get a good message back in here. So let's do some proper things, and let me go back to my original training as a developer. I once was one, honest. And we'll do a try. In Python, if you're doing these kind of things, layout of code is really important. So you've got to put in the, why isn't that working? I'm going to have a look at my code. I think that should work. Let me put the exception in and see if that's what's missing. There we go. So what it does is it tries this. If there's an error, it does this. Okay. Now the other part that I've tweaked, my slight variation of this, which I thought of just before lunch today, was to also put into here my inputs. And because it's an F string, I can put into here my date. And if you put an equals on the end, it's quite cool. And then I'm going to put into here as well. We're going to put into our amount and put in an equals. And then I'm going to put in a, can't remember which way around it goes. I think it's /n like that. We'll see if that works. Okay, so, and then I'm going to publish that. So, whilst that's publishing and whilst that's thinking about things, let's go back to the slide deck just for a sec. Oh no, it is the right slide. And let's go back to here. The comparison between the two, okay. Translytical flows, you also need a fabric capacity, okay, but I'm assuming you've got that with you playing with databases and all those kind of things. Your solution's 100% inside fabric, which will keep your fabric people happy, can go on all that kind of governance, all that can control, etc., etc. The forms are not as good as they could be. They've got some work to do, but I'm going to show you in a second something that gives you. I'm not a Power BI layout person. I'll show you some very, very pretty ones. There are some brilliant examples that have been built in the Translytical Flow Gallery. If you're bringing in a Power App, and I realise I haven't shown you a Power App, I was never going to fit it in the time. On my apologies. In order to connect to a database that's got a direct that you could do a direct query report off, you're going to have a Power BI Apps license. Okay. So yes, that's a $5, but that's or whatever it is per month per user. But if you've got 100 users, that's a lot. That's an extra amount for you. Your solution's not 100% in Power BI. You've got to bring in some Fabrics and Power Platform side, so you've got that governance to work with as well. But it is low code, and you can build a prettier form. So I am the person that sits between the two. I build Power Apps and I build Power BI, etc. And I do all sorts of things. If you go and have a look on my blog, but I'm hoping we get some more ideas on the translytical flow side to make it that it's easier to do those, so that both of these get slightly closer in what the outlook can look like. I'm just gonna go and show you. So that's regards to there. So let me go to the next slide. I'm aware that I've got 2 minutes. I think I meant to finish at 45. Please somebody tell me if I'm rushing too fast and I've got more time. Following on from some speakers who I hugely admire, they showed that they put up on GitHub all of their slide decks, all of their content to do stuff. So I've put onto GitHub all of the code to set up the demos I've done today. And the final code that I put in those functions and this slide deck. Okay, so it's there, and plus my other sessions that I do. So let's go and have a look at I've got 2 minutes. So let's go and have a look in here. If I go to my test, I'm just going to do that same test again. So we're going to put in today. We're going to put in a number and we're going to click test. And there we go. I've got the /n was wrong. Input equals today, amount equal, date equals today, amount equals that, and then there's the error. Conversion failed when converting the date. Let's check that it still works if we put in a date for December. Always worth testing both ways. And there we are. It worked for that one as well. Okay, so make sure you're testing them. I highly recommend you go and look at other user-defined function things that we can do. There are some fantastic things out there by Marco and Alberto reusing defined functions for calculations. Here's my GitHub. Here shows you there's a slide deck and the bits, and here's all my code to set it up. But if last one I want to just very quickly, I realize I'm about to go over time. Here is the translytical flow gallery. if you come and have a look at one of those posts, they show you using those input forms and those buttons nicely to be able to put things in. Okay, so and here is all the code behind them. You could also have it going and calling any other API. You could have it going and setting up, you put in the adjustment, it goes through an approval process, blah, da, 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 etc. Okay, so I am Laura GB. My other favorite game at the moment is Blueprints. If you haven't played it and if you like a good puzzle on Steam or other platforms, it's absolutely superb, but you'll lose whole weekends. I warn you now. Feel free to reach out. Oh, apparently I can take 5 minutes longer if I like. So there's but I think I've come to the conclusion. Are there any questions? How's that working, Marco or Marcel, my hosts? Apart from Alex's comment about my blog, I'll reach out to you, Alex. Well, let's have a catch up. It should be working. I'm hoping it's working. I've even got the subscribe button working on there. Do we have any questions? I've either confused everybody or not.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a question. So because I'm coming from the from the Power App side, so and I saw that the formula was the formula construction was I would say you said clunky or really I would say really easy or with not so many feature included. So what do you think is the best way for a decision? If you say if you need a big formula with a lot of functionalities like Power Apps is it better to use a Power Apps embedding, or is it the decision path is not easy for me to understand.
Oh, so the decision part here. Okay. So recently on a project we had exactly that conversation of the decision to make of, are we going to go down translytical flows or are we going to go down the Power Apps? Part of the decision at the moment is translytical flows, they're new, etc. So that's a down for them. Okay, but in 6 months' time, I don't think they're GA yet at the minute, but they will be. They will be very soon GA
Okay.
if they're not already. But assuming that they are, so let's give them the equal platform with regards to that. If I have a Power Platform team already, if I already have Power Platform governance, if I already have the expertise in connecting a Power App into a database, at the moment, I would probably go embedded Power App. If I don't have all of that, if I don't have, this is going to be their first step into the Power Platform world, this is not the right thing to do for the first step into the Power Platform world. If you've already got the governance on your Fabric side and the support there, I would get some of your clever UI people to make your report look pretty. Make your report work. Fit in with that gallery. It's got some fantastic examples in there. I think there are some downloadable ones as well, which are looking superb. I will make sure that I go and find them. I'll put up some blog posts about. I'll put up some posts on LinkedIn with regards to resources for this. But there are some really good examples out there.
Really, really
Alex,
interesting.
Alex has just confirmed they're not yet GA. Yeah.
Really cool.
But it's the issue on. So one of the other things you could do is that button that you're pressing could also. The other option is that you've got a Power Automate. I've got videos about embedding Power Automate in there, and that has some limitations. That has some things that are there, but it's got the power of Power Automate. And if you've got a Power Automate team who are great at doing it, great, fantastic. Use the Power Automate buttons; they're great. But if actually you've got a team of Python programmers, who've got some good things that they're building in there, and you're using those translytical flow, those user-defined functions for doing other parts in the business, make use of them. So it really depends. If you are a team that is, you've got some Power BI, you've got a database and you're using Power Platform, stick with your Power Apps. If you are a company that's got a strong data team and you're going down the Fabric path and you're bringing in a Power App just to do this adjustment or just to do this feedback, see if you can get translytical flows to work once they're GA. And my experience, I don't work for Microsoft, so I'm allowed to say these things. My experience is things quite often go GA at big conferences. So Build is coming. I don't know if it's going GA in Build. This is not me breaking any NDAs. I have no idea. But Build is coming in May. I wouldn't be surprised. I doubt they're going to wait until Ignite 6 months later. But they're the kind of times that come out. Things go GA.
This could change some things in the Power Platform, I think, or some people from a Power Platform will take a look on it. It's.
I think it'd be interesting to see how we can get those things to overlap, because of course, you could a Python script can trigger an API, could trigger a flow. So are there things in there that could make these things work slightly better, etc., etc.? And it's one of the lovely things of Fabric. Is that it is one of the first times Microsoft has mentioned low-code citizen developers anywhere near data. It's always very much been the Power Platform world. There are some very good, really good low-code things that can be done, Data Wrangler, all sorts of which will write your Python for you, and all sorts of lovely things that are out there that it is worth going and exploring.
Really, really cool. So,
FabCon. I've forgotten the one conference which I'm now being told off by Alex. FabCon is coming first. So FabCon, just like you have the Power Platform conference, there are the Fabric conferences. Fabric conference is in March in Atlanta. There will be announcements, I can guarantee.
Yeah,
I can't tell you what they are, but they will be.
I think we were waiting on it.
More Fabric jackets than like I'm wearing today will get given out to speakers.
So perfect. So first, I want to thank you. It was an amazing session. I learned a lot. Our next speaker is Christian Engel with the magic of merging, getting friendly with Power Query joins in Power BI. It will start in nearly 7 minutes. Yeah, I think it would be an amazing session with Christian. We see us back in 7 minutes. And Laura, thank you. And we see us.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Take care now.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future. Welcome to Power Bros Knowledge, where Power Platform meets pure innovation. Your business runs on chaos, approvals lost, data scattered, time wasted. We know that pain. Now imagine automating everything, faster, smarter, and built for impact. That's where Power Bros come in, architects of digital change. We don't talk trends, we build results. Our Knowledge Hub turns expertise into action, real tutorials, real automation, real impact. Whether it's Power Apps, Automate, Logic Apps, or Entra, we make it work together, smarter. Join the Power Bros movement, 30,000 professionals learning, building, and sharing every day. Ready to transform your workflows? Book us now, and let's build something legendary together.
Hi, I'm Sean, and I train people to become Power Platform Solutions Architects. If you're watching this, you know Power Platform, but be honest, when you're building a solution, are you using the best tools to solve the problem, or just the tools you know? If you love building powerful, scalable solutions that make your company money, let me share why our training is different. We've noticed that the best architects know a series of best practices and they apply them to every project. So we took all these best practices and put them into this course.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.
Hello and a warm welcome to the M365 Con. Today on our Power BI and Fabric stage is Christian Angel. A warm welcome. The topic of today is the magic of merging, getting friendly with Power Query joins in Power BI. You could start.
Hello, and thank you for having me. Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining my session when you could do anything else and be anywhere. Thank you, Marcel, for the invitation. I'm really, really glad to be here. This is my first time speaking at this conference at M365, and I hope my session will be useful for all of you, regardless of the level where you are on your Power Query journey. My session today is an introduction, an overview of the Power Query joins, regardless if we are talking about Excel, Power BI, or data flows in Fabric. They are treated the same. M engine is the same everywhere. You will see that we have everything from Excel to print screens from Power Query Online. So please raise your hand in the back of your computer if you had something like this, if you owned something like this, or this, or this. What do they have in common? They are all obsolete, right? So technology moved on, and we're living with some additional stuff. We're using different stuff now. Who remembers its first aha moment and the feeling when finally mastered VLOOKUP and wanted to get a t-shirt like this? I bet it was wow. And is it still relevant in 2026? Well, technology evolved and we have to keep up, right? After this session, I would like you to be able to say something like this. So, few words about me, and then let's move into the session. I'm a project management professional turned into a data guy. I'm working as a link between two worlds, business and IT. In my 20 plus years of working with data in different roles, I was fascinated when I discovered Power Query and Power Pivot back in 2014, and then Power BI in 2015. I'm holding several Microsoft certifications, and I founded Romania Power BI Modern Excel User Group 5 years ago, and since 2022, I'm a Microsoft MVP. Now I'm in two categories, Excel and Power BI. But enough about me. Let's see the session plan for today. We'll start with a short overview of merge in Power Query and where these merges are available, presenting all the join kinds available, mentioning also the fuzzy match options, and then we'll move where I feel better, the demo part, going through each of them with some sample data sets. You will see the sample data sets are pretty portable, let's say, and you will be surprised that everything is done in Excel, so you could reuse Power Query is the same, so demonstrating it's the same. Just in case something goes wrong, I also have a backup in Power BI. So we'll see all the standard joins, all the new joins, which are not new anymore, but they are still not visible in the UI. We'll try to understand merge, the user interface of merge, and then we'll move to the demo part. If we have time, we can have some Q&A at the end. So what are joins? Joins are the process of combining two queries using merge in Power Query. For those of you coming from the IT or database world, these are the well-known joins in SQL with some extra options and particular properties or capabilities. And for those of us, including myself, coming from the business or Excel world, VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP lately, it's what we can relate to. The main purpose of joins is to enrich data, increase or decrease the number of rows. The entire merge process is based on common fields, and in Power Query we have 6 standard join types in the user interface, and 2 additional ones using the M language, just like I said in the intro. This join or merge operation is essential for data modeling, cleaning, and analysis. And the implications of not doing it right can be significant. One small note here. Merge query, so merge in Power Query supports query folding, which means that this merging operation will be transformed into a native SQL query automatically, and either Excel or Power BI or Dataflow will send a SQL query to the data source, but it's available only for certain data sources, and we will not be touching that. Everything is self-contained, just like I said. So, as I said, I want to go through quickly on merge using the user interface on the in any Power Query version, either in Excel or Power BI or Dataflow Gen 2 or Dataflow Power Query Online. Basically, on the Home tab, we have a button, this button with merge queries. If you press the small arrow on the top, on the right, you will see there are 2 options, either normal merge or merge as new query. So usually I'm starting, UI is our best friend here, and I love what I can do using the UI. You will see only small tweaks. The code will be needed whenever we need to change the types of joins. So one thing that it was not very clear for me at the beginning when I started doing joins was the different references or different names that I found. Usually in any of the technologies working with Power Query, we get the user interface something like this whenever we press the merge button. But here we have a table on top and a table underneath and some options at the bottom, right? But as I said, in different documentation, videos, learning materials, something like this, you'll find naming very differently. So in some of them, the top table is called primary table, the bottom one is the related table. In other ones, the top table is actually called top table, and the bottom one is the bottom one. But in my mind, so I can understand it really, really easy, I'm doing it like this because in most of the cases, or even in the documentation, you will see this is the left table. So the top one is the left table, and the bottom one is the right table. So now that it's clear which is which, you will see that in Power Query Online, for example, and in other different other technologies, the interface is more or less the same, even if we have some additional options. Like this one in Power Query Online, we have this additional join kinds at the bottom, showing which is some Venn diagrams to help us. But as I said, there are 6 types of joins using the user interface, and 2 additional ones which are not in UI, and we'll go through all of them one by one. And I think this is pretty much in terms of slides. We'll have some summary slides in the end. Let's move to the demo part. So let me stop this and come back to this. As you can see, I'm using Excel for the demo for today. Let me move this. Yeah. So I'm using Excel because I can move easier and faster like this, and you will see why I'm saying this. So, join types in Excel. This file will be available for everybody attending the today's session. So don't worry. As I said, everything is self-contained, and you will have a link for the download in the last slide, on the resources slide. So let's start with the standard joins. Since we are at the conference now, I said let's try do something with some conference data as much as I could. And I created some sample data sets to try to explain everything. And this is my first two tables. I have a table with conference attendees, with attendee ID, full name, job title, and the years of experience. And I also have the workshop registrations with attendee ID, workshop name, the time slot, and the preferred language. So I would like to get more additional info based on these two and merge these two tables to answer some questions. So first of all, I'd like to see who's all set. So which attendee has already a workshop registration. In order to do this, let me show you the entire Power Query stuff. So for time constraints, everything is pre-prepared, and I will show you on the first one and explain what I'm doing, and then I will show you on each of them what is the result, okay? So this table is actually loaded, and let me show you how. This table, it's exactly this one, and if you are checking, the entire table is loaded directly here, so we don't have to depend on any additional files or things like this. And all of the tables are like this. So we have these two tables. So let me minimize everything else, and we'll go through them one by one. So we have the two tables, right? The attendees tables and the workshop registration. This is a test that I did before, so we can do it again. So these two tables, I want to merge them by the attendee ID. And how can we do it? As I said, the merge button is here on the home tab, and we could do it merge directly here into this table, or merge as a new query. Merge queries and get a new one. Well, we have two options. I'm actually choosing a third one, which is, in my view, easier afterwards and easier to maintain. I'm referencing the first table, so I right-click, reference to the first table, and let's rename it as all set, because this is what we want to check. And on this one, now that I have a reference table, I'm doing a merge. So in this table, I want to get data from the workshop registration table, right? So this is the UI pop-up that we get on every merge. And if I'm checking the workshop registration, I'm just selecting attendee ID from the top table or the left table with attendee ID on the bottom table. And please note that here we have the join kind, the options to choose one of the 6 joins that we said. Well, if we look at this tab as it is, the default we get is left outer join. For now, we want to do an inner join. And if you see here, we want to get only matching rows, right? So I'm selecting inner join and see what's happening. For every type of merge that we are doing, we get an additional table here, or an additional column with results. So you will see for some of the joins, we do have data in these tables, in these nested tables, if we have matching conditions. And for some of them, for some of the join kinds, we don't have any data here. So we get an additional table, but as you can see, an additional column from 7 records initially. Whenever we did the inner join, we remained only, so we reduced the number of rows only for the matching records, right? And here, if we expand this column, so let me move this a bit like this, and this one like this. If we expand this table and get the workshop name and the preferred language, I will uncheck the use original columns of prefix because I don't need it. So I'm getting the workshop name and preferred language. I have exactly who is all set. I have these four attendees going to these workshops, and this is their preferred language, which is pretty cool, right? So let me close it. And I'm not loading it anywhere because I already have some data loaded. So this is what we did here. As you can see, I already created this query here. And I did exactly what I showed you before. So I was joining. If you see, the first step of a referenced query is the previous, the name of the previous table, so the table that is referenced. And then I did a merge. This one based on attendee with an inner join. And this is what we get. And expanded. This is the pre-built query that I had. So let me go to this one. It's this one. Well, I have another question for my attendees. I want to see for all my attendees, so all the attendees, I want to have an entire view. So I would like to do a left outer join and get all the data from this attendee table and see which of the attendees are registered or have any data in the workshop registration. And for this, again, I'm just referencing the attendees table and do a left outer join. This is the default join that comes with Power Query, okay? Well, out of this one, as you can see, now I have all my records, so all 7 records from the attendee table. If I'm expanding the resulting data from the workshops, I only get data for the matching records. For the other ones, the ones that the records that don't match, I get a null. And because I wanted to be a little bit fancy, I also added a custom column here. And if we have data here, if the workshop name is not null, then send a reminder. Otherwise, it's confirmed, right? So if we move back here to see the complete picture, I'm just expanding. I see my left outer join with all the attendees, all 7 attendees, just like in the initial table, and their data plus the custom column, custom additional columns that I added. Okay, now I can see that if we look closely, here the attendees IDs are from 1 to 7. But if I'm looking here, I also have 20 and 21. These are some mysterious attendees. So either we haven't synced the workshop IDs yet, or it's clear we have a problem. But let's see which is the problem. So if we go back to the Power Query, again, I'm referencing, so I'm in this query. I'm referencing the attendees table, and I'm doing a right outer join. So if I'm opening the user interface, I'm still doing the join by the attendees IDs, but this time I'm choosing a right outer join, which means that I want to get all the records from the second table or right table matching from first. So whenever I'm doing this, you can see I have an additional record here. So Ctrl+Shift+ to zoom in a bit. I have some additional data on the second table that are not present in the first table, right? Well, we have two options, either to keep only this or do what I did here and expand everything. This is what I did here just to see that these two IDs, we have two workshops with attendees that are not in our attendees table. So until now, we had inner join, left outer join, and right outer join. But there is another one. There is another type of join, the full outer join. And for this, we can get the full 360, the complete view, if we are choosing edit. I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm referencing the attendees table, but here when I'm doing the merge, using just like I did the first one, I'm choosing the full outer join, which means that I want to get all data from both tables. Not this one. Okay. If I'm extending the tables here, you will see that I'm getting one thing that it's really important. Whenever we have nested table, if we click the white space near the table or the structure value inside Power Query, we get a preview here on the bottom of the screen with whatever it's inside. See, for this one, for Florin Georgescu, which is a CFO with 15 years of experience, we don't have any, he's not registered to any workshop. So we might be able to recommend something or send an email saying that since you're coming to our conference, you could go to this additional workshop or something like this. But if I'm expanding everything and I'm also adding a custom column, so let me show you how the custom column is made. So I'm just checking if the attendee ID is not null and the workshop name is not null, then it's okay. Otherwise, if attendee ID is null, then need workshop. Otherwise, investigate registration. In this way, I can get a full 360 view on everything that I need in using just the simple joins. So until now, we've covered the foundation, let's say like this. The inner join, which is showing only the matches, which is usually the happy path, but hide different gaps. The left outer join, which is the default. This type of join is getting the data from the left, plus it enriches the data, and also shows nulls whenever data is not available in the right table. The right outer join, which is getting all the data from the right table and find orphaned records. And the full outer join, which gives you a complete reconciliation showing everything matched or not. One small note here, if we are doing left outer join or right outer join, if you plan to use both of them, well, it's easy to think that if you switch the order of the tables, so if we would switch this on the left and this on the right, you could still use left outer join. So it's more or less the same thing. So any questions until now? I don't see any comments on the chat for now. Let's move further. Okay, let's move to our next case. We have two tables. We have two additional tables, one with the speaker database and one with the confirmed sessions, right? I have the speaker ID in both of them, and I want to match which speaker is presenting at our conference. Well, now we know we can do an inner join, right? Based on speaker ID. But what do you think? Is it correct? Yes, we can do it, and you'll see. Let me open this one. Open directly the Power Query. Well, it's pretty obvious in the name that this is not correct, but let me show you why. I'm doing exactly what I did with the attendees and workshops. I'm referencing the speaker table. So this one, I just right-click, reference it. So the first step in my query is speakers, and I'm using the merge. In this one, I'm doing a merge based on speaker ID with an inner join, right? Because now we know. We've just went through the hustle of learning the inner join. So I want to see what's common. Well, if we are looking at it like this, we get some data. So, but again, from the 7 records that we had, the number of records with inner join reduced to only 4. And if we are checking the tables, what we are getting from the sessions table, we'll see that for Anna Pop, we get 2 matches. For data flows, yeah, it's only 1. But for Gabi Ionescu, we get 2 again. So if we expand everything, you will see that using merge, using inner join, we have problems, because Anna Pop is returning 2 options or 2 records from the confirmed sessions, and Mihai Dumitrescu is also having 2 records here. And it's clear we have a problem. So let's try to find first the unique speakers who are presenting. How can we do it? We can use one of the non-available in the UI joins, the left semi-join. And let me show you how. Let me open the Power Query and show you what I did. So for this one, again, I'm referencing the speakers table, just like I did before, and I'm doing left outer join. It doesn't matter. I can stick with the default here, because whenever I'm doing it, so let me modify it. So I'll show you left outer join. This is the default join, right? So we can even check the UI like this, and this is the default. Well, because we don't have the left semi-join and right semi-join here in the list of visible type of joins, but we know they are there and they are working, we can modify directly here in the formula bar the join kind. So from left outer, which is the default one, we can modify it to left semi. Left semi join will check for the existence of this ID in my second table and keeps only a single record, so deduplicates. If we check, as I said at the beginning, not all the joins are returning data. So if we are checking the nested tables that are here, you will see here in preview that no data is returned for this one, because left semi-join is only only checking for the existence and not bringing any table from the right table. So if we go back to Excel, let me close this. This is what we did, a left semi-join, and we get a list of all the speakers. These are the unique speakers that are speaking to our conference, regardless of the number of sessions that they have. So left semi, as I said, filters. It only filters the left table by the existence in the right table, but keep left columns only and deduplicates. Think of it like a guest list check. You have your master list, master guest list on the left. You check who answered, who RSVP'd on the right. You only care who responded, not the details, and each person appears once, right? Usual use cases, well, you can, in our case, you can send one email per speaker and not more. You can print only one badge. You can prepare only one welcome package, and you can calculate afterwards unique number of speakers in the conference. And this is what left semi-join is doing. But I also want to know who is not presenting. And for this, I will use a different kind of join. So let me zoom in a bit and show you what I did here. So I'm also starting from the speakers table, this one, by referencing the speaker table, and doing another type of join, the one that we haven't used until now, the left anti-join, which is only showing rows in the first table, on the left table. By doing this, I'm making sure that I'm only showing the speakers which are not having a session confirmed yet. Maybe I want to confirm sessions for other speakers, but I'm only checking who is not speaking and is already in the in our list, right? And left anti-join is one of the default the UI functions. So actually, these are the speakers we've invited and haven't confirmed yet, for example. Classic use cases: employees who haven't completed training, customers who haven't made any purchase, products with no recent orders or whatever other attributes, or invoices which are not paid. It's really easy to check using this type of join. So we had 3 questions, right? Who is presenting? We used left semi-join. Let me move it a bit like this. And we returned only the speakers in number of 4, no duplicates. Who is not presenting? We've used left anti-join, and we returned only the speaker list which are not speaking there, which are not presenting. And we had 3. And we, if we used the inner join, we showed who had showed the presentations with speaker info, right? And we returned only we returned data from both tables, and we got 6 information. So now that we've introduced the semi and the anti, we have to wrap our heads around how to make this decision, when to use what. So if you're asking who has or what exists, use a semi. It only checks for existence, and you don't get any additional info back, info from the right table. If you're asking yourself who hasn't or what's missing, then use anti-join. Pretty easy, right? Both of them returns columns from the left table. Both automatically deduplicate, and both are fast because Power Query doesn't need to merge or expand data. Both of them are also query foldable, let's say it like this. Even if we cannot show it now because everything is localized, both of them are can be folded to the data source. And think about like this, just like left outer and right outer, if you reverse the sign, so we could use the right semi or right anti. It's exactly the opposite, but if you want to do it the opposite way, just reverse the order of the tables, and this is it. It's really easy, right? Okay. Any other questions? We have. Okay, I see Glory there, but there is no question. Now that we have a basic understanding of all kind of sessions, let's go back to the standard joins or the attendees and workshop registration table, because we have some additional questions to answer on this one. So considering these two tables, which attendees picked the workshop? We can answer this question, right? Well, how can we do it? With a left semi-join. And let me show you. Data, queries, and connections. I'm referencing the attendees table and doing a left semi-join just by changing here the join kind in the formula bar. By the way, if you don't see the formula bar in any of the applications, either Excel or Power Query or Power Query, well, in Power Query Online, there is a button, a different button, but in Excel and Power BI, if you go to the View tab, there is an option here, formula bar. And if you haven't checked it, please do, because you will see what Power Query does for you in terms of M language whenever you are pushing some buttons. So we wanted to know which attendees picked a workshop. Doing a left semi-join, we got the answer. We have 4 attendees that are here with the workshop registration. Let's answer a different question. Which attendees haven't picked the workshop? With a left anti-join, we get exactly what we did with the speakers and sessions. And we already have it here. And if you check the query, the merge here, indeed, we did use a left anti-join, right? From the UI. We can ask another question. Which workshop registration are from valid attendees? So not all of the workshops have attendees, valid or registered attendees, right? Well, we might need to do something about it. So let me show you this with the left semi-join, but with a reverse table, exactly what I was saying earlier. Here, I'm referencing the workshop registration, and I'm doing left semi-join when I could have used the previous options and keep the left and right and use the right semi. I could do it like this, and you'll see it here. This is what I'm having here. So if I'm doing referencing the attendees on the left table and do a merge with right semi-join, I only get one record, this one with data only in the second table, and if I'm expanding, I'm getting the exact same data. And in the same way, we can see here, starting from workshop registration, just to show you that working from the right is the same thing. Doing a left anti-join, we can see which are the workshops where we have a problem and we don't have all the attendees synced, or we need to do something. Exactly the same thing. We can do it here by referencing the attendees as the first table. So starting on the top table with the attendees, doing a right anti-join and getting the same results, right? So it's pretty easy as long as we understand what's there, right? So the decision tree when choosing join types, think about like this: do I need columns from both tables? If the answer is yes, just use inner or left outer or right outer or full outer. But watch for duplicates. Whenever you have one-to-many relationships, you can get duplicates as a result. So whenever you don't need a column from both tables and you only need filtering, use semi or anti-joins, which is showing if an item exists in one of the tables with a left or right semi, or items that doesn't exist in the other table using the left anti, finding the gaps, right? I hope that it was clear with the basic ones until now, and let's move quickly to the multi-column joins, because I see that the time is moving way faster than I was thinking. So we have two additional tables. We have room bookings and the equipment setup, and we want to match which room is okay for which equipment setup, right? And we have speakers names, so we can split everything by speaker names. Let me show you directly what I did here. Queries and connections. I want to do a left outer join on the room bookings and get everything I have in the equipment setup, right? Based on, let me show you, based on the room. So I'm just matching the room here. What do you think? Do we have right data? Well, not exactly. If we expand, we get multiple data for multiple rooms. But there is an option, there is a solution for this. Whenever we are doing merges that need multiple conditions, we can choose different or additional columns. So here on the merge, I'm not choosing just like until now, only one column, but I'm choosing 3 different columns. So the room name, the date, and the time slot. And in the second table, I'm doing it the same. The room name, the date, and the time slot. I'm still keeping the left outer. This is the default part as until now, but this time I'm getting the right results and adding an additional info on whatever it's already set it up, right? because I see that we are a bit behind the schedule, I will try to only show you what's happening here and what are the rules for multi-columns. So make sure that the selection, the order of the selection of the columns is consistent. So column selection order matters. Data type must be compatible. So you have to do merges on columns which are having the same type, and case sensitivity matters. So we have some common scenarios for these ones, and I don't want to go into more details because you'll have the file and you can check it in the end. One more quickly, I want to show you two additional tables that we have, and we usually have like this. So I have a list of email invitations and a list of session confirmations, but check out the speaker names. Ana Pop here is Pop Ana. Gabriel Ionescu is Ionescu, Gabriel. Laura Maria Popa is Laura Popa. Nothing matches, right? Or it doesn't look like very much matching there. Even if we would do a join by speaker name, this one with this one, we'll get something like this. 0, nothing. But there is an option in Power Query, and I will briefly show you what that option is, to do merges with fuzzy matching. So if we check the email invitation, so we start from the email invitation and we do a merge here with a default type of left outer, we have an additional option here, use fuzzy matching. So if we check this and we get some additional options on this, just note that fuzzy matching will return whatever matches from what was found, and you will see only 3 matches. We had 3 matches with a match score above 0.8 because this is the default in fuzzy matching. But if we would like to lower the default, we could modify to the similarity threshold of 0.5. You will see that we get 6 matches out of 7, and if we expand it, yes, we do have additional data. And whenever you know which is which, there is an additional option to use for fuzzy matching. And I have another query, this one, email invitations, doing the merge. If you check here, we have a transformation table that we can use. And let me show you what this transformation table looks like. You can define your own transformation table, but it's mandatory to have 2 columns, from and to, always call like this. So this way you are telling Power Query, if you find Alexandru, just go with Alex. If you find Stefan with diacritics, Stefan is also okay. If you find Andrea with 2 E's, Andrea, it's okay. And using the transformation table, we get much more much more matches, let's say like this. I only want to show you briefly the conditional matching, so we can stop the recording. Whenever you are doing, I have two use cases for conditional matching. On this one, I'm not even touching it. You will see it's a pretty complicated M code behind the scene. You will be able to look at it at your own pace. There are some conditions, but this one, it's easy to explain. Let's say I have two tables, one with sales, 1,000 something records here with sales, and 146 customers. Whenever we want to do conditional merges, let's say I want to get customers in Europe, I could do a normal merge and put some filters and go from there, right? But this would mean that I would have much more steps there. We could do it much more easier doing it just like this. Let me show you this one. So I want to get only the customers in Europe. I'm starting from the sales data, which is the big table, and I'm doing a join, but instead of the second join of the second table, just like we did until now, we are doing directly in the join after we are writing it with the UI. I'm only doing a table.select rows on customers on continent equal Europe. So I'm doing a conditional join, a right semi-join, right? If I'm keeping only that data, this is it. If you have if you have sources with lots of records, and Power Query will be able to query fold and do the filtering much more easier. If I want to do a merge, I'm doing a left semi-merge here with continent Australia. So I'm starting from the sales data, and I want to filter everything, all the sales that are happening in for customers in Australia. I can do it directly with using the M code. And I can also add two conditions. And check this out. I'm starting from the sales table, which is the big table, but I only want to get data for gender equals female and country equals France. So this is really easy. It's only one step. Everything is foldable, and I'm doing again a left semi-join. Well, this is pretty much in a hurry. The last part, I just want to show the conditional, what we covered today. So we covered the foundation, which is used in 90% of the use cases: inner, left outer, right outer, and full outer. The existence checks: left semi, left anti, with their pairs, right? So depending on your usage, we can use either one or the other. And some advanced techniques, or more advanced techniques, we can use multi-column when single keys aren't unique. So we have to select multiple columns to do a kind of unique key. I see a question: how can we get the Excel file? I will show you on the reference slide. I did everything. I did upload it somewhere on my GitHub. Let me go quickly through this and make sure.
Can add it into the speaker notes too, if you want.
Sorry?
You can add the presentation in your speaker notes too.
Oh, okay. Okay, very good. So in the slides that are also shared, you will see all the details, the ones that I passed quickly now, with additional info on each of them. This is the overview of what we did today, what we covered. This is a short summary on what do I choose when I need to combine data, or find who completed an action, or find who didn't complete an action, or match multiple columns, or handle name variations with fuzzy joins, and so on. And there are these are some of the problems that can occur whenever the joints are not done correctly. So data duplication, performance degradation, schema drift, and unintended cross joints. Some mitigation strategies. Please make sure you understand the joint types and do data profiling. Test joints with sample data, with smaller data, and monitor performance. So what to remember, it's exactly what I said during the presentation. One thing to note here, fuzzy matching, it's only supported for text and always breaks query folding. This is a cheat sheet that my friend Rick de Groot created some times ago. And these are the resources and the session files for today. So both the presentation and the PDF for the presentation and the file to play around is right here. Thank you, everyone. And I think we have 1 or 2 minutes for questions.
Yeah, thank you. It was amazing. One question. So,
Sure.
is it ever how important is the data cleaning before you working with joints? Is it important anymore, or do you said regarding to all these technologies or it's join kind?
It's really important. Whenever you want to do a join, you need to make sure that the casing is the same. Even that is important. You know, Power Query is case sensitive. So if you have data in one table with lower cases and upper cases, well, you will not get a match. So either lowercase everything or uppercase. So data cleaning is important even in the steps before merging.
Yeah. So we have only 1 minute left. So when the next session will start, but I will try to you should try to answer one question. Fuzzy matching 0.5, is it % of confidence or where this match score column came from?
Yeah, the match column, it's an optional parameter that I added manually in the query, and it's the similarity threshold.
Okay.
So this is the name of the one moment. I have it exactly somewhere. It's called similarity column name. If you go into the options, whenever you do fuzzy matching, you get additional info as a record. If you add similarity column name and you give it a name of the column, this is the 0.5 and the percentages. It's the percentage of similarity that the Power Query found. And the threshold by default in fuzzy matching is 0.8. But in my view, I'm trying to avoid as much as possible the fuzzy matching, because you can always get tricky answers, and if you have huge tables, you will miss them. So usually in real life, you're not working with 7 or 15 records.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to thank you because we're running out of time. This was a great session. I hope we see us again, and I wish you a nice day.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Bye.
I will do. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Hey, Marcel.
No, no breaks here. No breaks here. So, warm welcome. Chris, to our M365 Con today on the PowerBI and Fabric stage here with me, Christopher Wagner. Warm welcome. And your topic today, Fabric basics for Power BI developer. You could start. Have fun.
All right. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for joining this session. Like, I know we've been talking about Fabric for a little while, but it's only been a little while. And if you're very lost about all the stuff that's going on in Fabric, and like straight up, for some respects, like you should feel like you're lost in these things because there's a lot that's here. Well, this session is for you. So please do not feel bad if you're confused by these things. Like you should definitely be sharing that. So Marcel, are you able to share my screen? I'm sharing a screen, but it's not actually going out. Oh, there we go. All right, good deal. Awesome. So we're going to be diving right into this. We are going to be doing a demo in here, but before we do that, to make sure we're all on the same page, like what the heck why are we even talking about Fabric? Why is this important? Well, that's because Microsoft realized a long time ago, and we kind of all realized that, like, hey, just working in business intelligence or just working in the reporting layer helps us address a number of needs and challenges. And I mean, Christian just had a great session on like all these different things you can do in Power Query with fuzzy matching and joining and whatnot. And I mean, that's great. It's a good path for people who don't have, any other option. But Fabric is here because we realize you do need that option. You do need the ability to do data engineering tools with proper functionality in order to deliver on results. You need those reports. You need data science. You need it all sitting in one place so you're not having to copy data over and over again. All right. Well, my name is Chris Wagner. I'm a director of AI and data, and I'm a data god over at Kratos BI. So you can find me on YouTube. You can find me over at Baker Tilly. So if you need any help, do feel free to reach out. We are happy to help people through these struggling times. All right. I want to be very clear on this. I want you to ask questions. I don't want any of these things to go over your head. Some of these things are like the basics and the foundational pieces. But if you do have questions, here is the time and place to ask them. Literally, if you have a question, post it in the chat. I'm here for you. I'm not here because I like hearing my own voice. In fact, I kind of don't like the sound of my own voice. So, please ask questions for you. We really want to help you out. All right. But let's start with some basics so we can do a rewind here as to why and how this strategy is going to work. So for those of you who are, in your 50s or 60s, you remember this. You remember the days before Office where, you had to worry if people were using Lotus 123 or Excel or there were some other, tabular spreadsheet softwares out there. It was a big pain, and the same thing was true with your documents and presentation files. Like there was always this back and forth as to like what file type to send, and we had all these struggles that were really a challenge in sharing information. Well, Microsoft realized that, like, hey, you know what? We've got the number one tool across all these different categories. If we bundle these together, we can really make this easy for people in offices all around the world to like work and do different things. And that's where Office came along. And gradually over the years, Office realized, we need to have the big addition is we should have all of the files in one place so that we can collaborate on things. And, so if I'm working on a PowerPoint, my buddy, Matt, he could be working on the same PowerPoint at the same time. So that's when OneLake came along. And most recently, we've started to see like AI bleed into everything. And, Microsoft said, hey, you know what? That should be inside of our Office suites. And so that's why we've got this whole Copilot M365 offering coming out, because if we're talking about common tools that are all integrated and working together for the office worker, there's no better place than Microsoft Office, right? Same thing is true if we're talking about working with data, right? We all need the same common tools. We all need the same common capabilities. And we all need to be working on them in one place. That's where Fabric comes into play. Great thing about Fabric is, while it sounds like it's this brand new offering that's out there, all of the tools that are running on Fabric are tools that have been working for like 10, 20 years already. So Microsoft has a strong knowledge and foundation of background for each one of these. They've just put them all together in one unified, integrated space, so it's easy to interact with them and use them, okay? And they all sit on top of, and this is really important, they all sit on top of one lake, which means the data that backs up everything in Fabric, there's just one copy of that data. So you're not having to worry about juggling 9,000 Excel spreadsheets anymore. You could just have that one copy. All right. That's the vision. That's the strategy. That's the purpose here. All right. When we think about working inside of Fabric, there's really three personas I like to think of, or when I'm starting to engage here. Three hats that I'll put on, okay? I'm either going to be doing some data engineering work, i.e., I'm going to be going to get data, shape data, transform data. I'm going to be doing some analytics, i.e., I'm going to be doing some reporting. I'm going to be defining the data that I'm working with in a semantic model, and then, or I'm going to be shaping it for the consumption and sharing it out to people as an experience on the reporting side. And then the last like hat I would put on is on the data scientist side, where you're going to be doing that predictive modeling, that experimentation, that trying to understand root cause of what's going on inside your data. Those are the three kind of hats that I like to put on when I'm thinking about working in Fabric. And the reason why I like to put these hats on is because that helps me understand what's the proper tool I should be using, right? Because if I'm a Power BI developer and I just think of myself as a Power BI developer, I'm always going to be putting on the data analytics hat. And that means I'm only ever going to be grabbing what's inside of Power BI to solve my problems. But that's not always the right solution. And finding the right solution is what Fabric allows us the flexibility and ease to do. All right. So when I'm thinking about data engineering, there's some 5 primary buckets that I like to think about getting into. Am I going to be creating a warehouse? This is basically your structured place where you're going to be storing data, managing data, and often you're going to be consuming that data from your semantic models and your reports. This is your classic warehouse situation. Like, you're going to find that queries run really great here, are very low cost, and are fantastic to work in. The next one is the latest and greatest thing. And so, like, everyone gets very excited about this. And I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, but, while lake houses are fantastic, they're not necessarily always the solution, right? The way some people like to think of them as, sometimes it is warehouse. But a lake house is where I store like my raw landed information, my raw data, because it might be a mixture of highly formatted regular data, as well as like unstructured data as well. So maybe you've got video files, maybe you've got sound files from different recordings on your service desk calls or something like that. All of that works really nicely in a lake house. All right. Now, your pipelines are what's going to be used to move data and transform data from point A to point B. These pipelines are going to be orchestrated to actually help you facilitate the move, run notebooks, execute stored procedures, or generally clean up that environment. All right. Notebooks, on the other hand, These are great tools that are used in conjunction with lake houses, kind of exclusively, although that's evolving and it's not 100% true anymore. But kind of, notebooks have a huge place to play when it comes to working in lake houses and helping you shape and transform your data. The big secret in here is that we've got a concept called shortcuts, which basically means that, hey, I'm person A, I can be working and I can own this content in my sales area. I can share that information to another team member without having to copy that data someplace else. And I can do that via what's known as a shortcut. These are just some of the general things that you would be doing when you're putting on your data engineering hat. This list is not intended to be a comprehensive list of all the activities. It's just some of the stuff that you do when you're wearing your engineering hat, and kind of why you'd want to do it, right? So store structured information, store unstructured information, move that information, transform it, or share it via shortcuts. Those are your big components there. When I think of reporting and data analytics, and I wonder, am I able to like pause sharing for just a second here? I don't know. But I want you to focus in on me. I don't know how to go big in this situation. Inside of here is where we talk about advanced semantic modeling. While we think about reporting and dashboarding as the number one thing in here, like we all know what that is, but that semantic model, this is going to prove to be the most important thing that you can do when it comes to 2026. And so I'm going to go a little deeper in on that. All right. So we're going to be skipping ahead because I want to emphasize this on the reporting side. So if you're a Power BI developer, here is your Power BI report, right? Like nothing fancy, nothing too out of the norm here. In fact, if anything, this is unimpressive because it's something I just created for this demo and presentation. All right. But what we have inside of here is potentially the most important thing you need to be developing in 2026 with the state of where AI is going to be 1 year from now. Okay. And because we all know, we've all worked with AI, we've heard the mantra, hey, AI is the future. And I'm sure I'll talk about it again later on in this presentation as well. But like AI, understanding data in our organization is going to be like super important for people as they start to work with that data and work with AI and be able to say, yes, AI is making a positive impact on our business. And that is for the AI to properly understand what's happening inside of your business. And to do that, there is no better way than to understand the quantitative information that is available through your semantic models. What your semantic models are going to be doing is one key thing. It's going to be capturing in one place the business logic and the business definitions associated to the qualitative metrics that are important to your business. Okay. This is going to become critical for your AI tools in 2027 and 2028 to be able to look at your semantic models and understand, what does sales mean to you as an organization? Where is the definitive place for orders? All of that information. Oh, excuse me. Where's my mute here? Okay. All right. Sorry, just figured out mute. All of that information is going to become critical for you when it comes to working with AI, is having a good place for that AI to go. And frankly, we're seeing more and more case studies as to why AI is quote unquote failing in organizations, comes down to the qualitative responses AI is giving executives and people in our business are not correct, because AI's currently struggle with semantic models and currently struggle with understanding the complexities of the data in your organization. Well, that's going to be changing in 2026 with Fabric IQ. We're going to be seeing a lot of advances there. I had a great conversation yesterday with Brogdon Cravat. He is, one of the principal engineers at Microsoft. He's helping lead the way. Look for that interview to go live sometime, literally as soon as my video editor finishes editing it. He's calling out like, hey, if you're going to be investing time in 2026 on advancing anything inside your data and AI space, it should be right here with this semantic model. So make sure that as you work inside of Fabric, that your semantic model in a good structured star schema is sitting on top of data that is structured appropriately and that you have a one-like connection to it. There's nothing that's going to be more valuable in the long run in 2027 and the future than having this set up for you guys. Okay. So a little bit of a diversion there, but I think it's very, very worth it to make sure we hit on the value of that semantic model. Okay. And we'll get into more of top tips on things you should do as part of that later on in the demo. Okay. Let's keep going. I'm going to put on my third hat here. This is my data scientist hat. What are we thinking about when we're talking about data science? And that's really looking at often raw or silver data, trying to uncover insights within the data, doing data exploration, preparing it for consumption, doing experiments and looking at the predictability of that information, working together with other data scientists as well as operization, making it workable, make it data science workable. You'll find that Gartner has many conversations about how do you enable data scientists to actually contribute to people and contribute to organizations. That's classically been a huge challenge because data scientists, while very smart, they have classically worked with tools, worked with data that was kind of quote unquote off system, right? In order to like get the data to do the work that they needed to, they moved the data someplace else. They used tools and capabilities that weren't integrated, and it became really problematic because your data scientists would find great insights, but then it would take 36 months for those insights to make it into the warehouse, into the semantic model, into the reports. Now with Fabric, you could do all of that stuff in one place. All right. And then here's the big thing that we want to focus is almost your number two thing that kind of goes along with your semantic modeling. That's making sure that all of your data sits directly on top of OneLake, on top of Delta files using Direct Lake. You've got your data definitions all defined in Purview, and you've got your object level, row level security tied back to Entra ID groups. This is going to really advance your solution and prep you guys for the future because this is all integrated and part of Fabric. Okay. Now, I hit on a lot in here, but I want to reassure you, Fabric is for everyone because of this founding strategy. We have both a low code for everything in Fabric. There is a low code path as well as a pro code path. So if you want to put on your hat as a data engineer, you've got low code capabilities to make that happen. Or if you suddenly want to go deep into the data engineering space, you could totally take that low code hat off, throw on your hardcore pro code developer hat, and you can really dig into that solution. And that's really true from your data engineer, your analyst, to your data scientist profiles. All of these capabilities can be easily done in either low code or pro code space. And I'm going to be honest with you, straight up. Stay low code as much as you possibly can and only go on the pro code side of the tooling when you have that need to do that. Okay. Let's keep our lives as simple as we possibly can. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. All right. And then on top of all of this stuff, we're seeing that Fabric is powered by Copilot, or more importantly, the development is powered by Copilot. The great thing we have here are two primary things. Number one, Fabric runs with everything on OneLake. That means the data in OneLake is stored in Delta files. Delta files are open source data types. Think of like a CSV, but a CSV designed for performance. Okay. So they're stored on Delta files. That means you can run Python, you can run SQL, and you can run your analytics and Power BI on top of that exact same data. Okay. The big advantage we have there are those first two, Python and SQL, are the number one and number two languages and code repositories in the world. Right? So what does AI use to become good at any programming or coding language? It uses code repositories. So the number one and number two languages that Copilot and any AI is going to be good at, it's Python and SQL. Those are two solutions that are going to become like Copilot, as well as other LLMs are going to be very useful at, or really good at, are Python and SQL. So you're in the right place to make all this stuff super easy for you. In fact, I am not a data engineer, Python or Spark expert. That's not a hat I ever claim to have. I've done very little work with on the platform. In fact, the things I have done, I've done in conjunction with others, where I've done deep dive performance testing on data warehouses, comparing those CU usage and utilization to like equally proficient Python developers, and looking at their performance and comparing utilization. That's the closest I've really come. But with Copilot, I was actually able to build a notebook, a Python-based notebook, to help deliver a solution for a client. And I did that faster than the Python engineer who was trying to help me deliver the solution as well. Like Copilot gave me what I wanted faster than that Python expert was able to get to. So it was fantastic. It was great. And I mean, it's not that he stunk. It was that the amount of time it took me to explain what I was looking for, I basically took the same prompt I was asking him, or I actually gave him a head start. I typed to him what I was looking for, sent it to him, copied it, pasted it into Copilot, and I got a functioning answer via Copilot faster than he was able to respond to me. No. A lot of variables to play in there, but the great thing is it makes all of these capabilities accessible to you. All right, but enough of this. Let's get into a demo. You guys ready? 2, 1, 0. Okay, let's go. Let's get into the hardcore demo here. Let's pull up Power BI back up and let's dive into it. Okay, so here is my Power BI report. I, as a Power BI analyst, built this report by going out to a SQL server that I have access to and that I'm connected to, and I started to work with this information. As I started to build this out, I realized I was having problems with some of my dimensions inside of my warehouse, right? I had issues, right? And I know I should be, creating a ticket and sending it over to IT, but frankly, ain't nobody got time for that. It doesn't seem to work. So what did I do? I did your classic Power BI developer move. Is I went in and I created some transformations, right? So my date dimension was fine, my fact table was fine. Honestly, my product table was good. My product category was good. My product subcategory, though, I discovered some issues. And let's go in and see if we can, let me see if I can show it to you. Yeah, we're going to insert a step and I'm going to show it to you. Look at what I found here. I know this is not right, but I got some duplications inside of my enterprise dimensional table. Well, son of a gun. Someone screwed that up. They're supposed to fix it, but they didn't fix it. I mean, I could create a ticket and get them to fix it, but that's not going to help me on a go forward basis, and maybe I'll do that. But I ran into that problem, and I ran into the problem on multiple dimensions. Like the loads had run multiple times, and I started to have these issues where, like, well, I can't have these duplicate records coming into my table. So I did what every good Power BI developer did: is I logged a ticket with IT, I dropped in a sort, I clicked on remove duplicates, and I'm off to the races. I'm done. Right? Well, that's where you're wrong. This is great in helping me build out my individual report. I don't want to save any changes now. Getting things up and running inside of here. Let's discard those changes. Yes, discard that. But this gives me a problem in that I'm starting to have legacy information or information on how people should be interacting with our data in a state that, like I said in the presentation, isn't going to get me ready for Power BI. Well, if I head over to Fabric, and oops, let me head over to Fabric. Where did we go? Where did we go now? There we are. Head over to Fabric. I could go in and I could see, hey, this is my enterprise. This is my enterprise space where all of our data is flowing into, and that we're using the AdventureWorks database that's in here for our reporting and analytics. And this is where we should be hitting and everything. And if I go in and look at this table in here, I can confirm exactly what it was I was seeing. Like, look, you can see employee 1 is there. Son of a nutcracker, there employee 1 is in again. So we've got duplicate records that somehow got introduced to the system. I'm feeding it out, or I'm filtering it out, and I need to have this in a place that can be consumable by my organization, so I can start to like bring stuff in and use it. Well, I don't want to be, recreating the challenges and problems of the past. So I could just go ahead and use this, and like I said, submit tickets there. Or this is where we could start to get into stuff where like IT gets a little questionable. But like we're just going to do it here because you know what, we're showing you why these capabilities are useful for you as an organization. So this is the M365 con. So you can see I'm doing this live. So nothing is hidden. Nothing is secret here. So I'm going to use premium capacity for this because I want to make sure that I have some other experiments that are fully using my other capacity. I'm going to load this up and I'm going to start from scratch. So I'm going to say, hey, I want to create a new thing. And I'm just going to create a SQL database. I'm going to call it my M365 SQL DB. I'm going to create this. I'm going to load that information from my source systems into here so I can actually manage this appropriately and leverage those same types of functions that I would use, but I want to persist it in code that I could easily pass to another team. And that's what having data in either Python or SQL allows me for. Having data in Power Query is confusing for them. They have all sorts of challenges, right? So I'm just going to create a new simple copy job to copy my data for my M365 demo. Copy job, CJ, create. And this, you're going to see that this is super easy. I'm going to connect to the database where my data is in. I'm going to select the tables that are most important to me. Right. So I'm going to choose my data source. And look, Fabric's walking me through this, right? I mean, you can totally do this. This is super easy, right? So I'm going to like, what was the database I was connected to? Hang on a second here. I want to make sure I got the right one. So let's see, where's my source? Holy cow, that is not a great source. AdventureWorks database, yep. Holy cow, well, that doesn't help me a lot, but I know where it is. Let's go back to it. It's this AdventureWorks database right here. I'm going to select this one as a copy job. It's going to ask me, what tables do I want to get? Well, it's the same tables. Oh, come on now. Fire bypass token false. What are you talking about? Oh, that's not great. And this is why you love those live demos. I don't know why I'm doing that. All right, hang on a second here. We can get this. OneLake catalog, SQL database. This is where I went. AdventureWorks database. Yeah, AdventureWorks Connect. So this should show me the exact same things I'm connected to. Okay, all the databases there, so that worked. Why you gotta be like that, Fabric? Okay, so we're gonna choose our data source. I'll choose AdventureWorks data connecting to it. Good. Oh man alive. Okay, well, then we're gonna work on it. We're gonna pretend like this information was already loaded in, and we're just gonna fake it here so we can make it. Okay, so we're gonna pretend like I've copied this data in. What I can do here is, instead of like just having to do that that Power Query shift right here, where we have where was it? Product subcategory. I can create a new view. So I can say, hey, create view. And I'll show you how I do this. So we had it on product subcategory, right? So we'll say dim product subcategory, select top rows, right? And we're going to actually say select distinct. We're going to have the values here. We're going to hit run. We're going to make sure we don't have any duplicates in here. And in fact, I am, yes, we're just going to do that. And so then I'm going to take this and I'm going to create a view on this. Create view. VW dim product subcategory. All right. And now I'm going to hit run on this. It's going to create the view that I'm expecting it to have, which will actually allow me to oh, it's already there. Look how fast that is. Blazing fast. So now I've got a view that is exactly what I need it to be. And I could take this view and I could pass this to my enterprise team. So instead of saying, hey, enterprise team, your data is wrong in this table, because maybe it is and they'll fix it, or maybe they like those duplicate keys for some odd reason. Maybe they've shifted from to include some historic changes or something like that. They've changed it to a type 2 dimension, but I need it to be type 1. I can give them back a view that I want, that works for me, or works for my reporting, and it's in a language and area that they want. And then I can go back here and I could change my my connection. So instead of it just being, once this is done, instead of it being dim product subcategory, I could change this over to the view. Hang on. Refresh. Refresh preview. Let's go VW dim product subcategory, navigation, VW dim product subcategory. Now look at this. Now I've just replaced that source query, and now I no longer need to say remove duplicates in my model. What this has done is this has created a framework where I can continue to run and operate while solving problems using common code and common languages that our IT department like knows and can understand how to work with. Okay. This makes my entire experience much more powerful and easy for to build and operate, because number one, it keeps me building, it keeps me working. Number two, it helps our organization evolve so that as I go through and work, my IT teams, my central IT dev teams can see how these things function and work together and understand how we're consuming that information. What this will eventually do is it'll ensure that the data that I'm loading is for the semantic model that is being used by my team, by my company, for my analytics, is connected back to a OneLake drive or data that's in OneLake that's commonly accessible and commonly usable by other people for AI. Okay. So apologies on the little hiccup here. I'm going to try it one last time because, well, frankly, if it worked in the other table, it should work right here. So it's interesting that it's not. Let's give it 1 second. That's so interesting. Okay, well, that's what we like to do here. We like to do these things live. But let's go back into my SQL database, my AdventureWorks database that's working on. I created this view right here. And I'm going to talk about one thing I like to do with this is I always like to copy it. And I like to rename my query to be the create. So I've got that renamed. And now if I go down into my queries, I could see that I've got these create views that are down here. I don't want to keep anything that was used to create an object in my queries. I always want to move these over into my shared queries. The reason for that is this is one of the best practices when it comes to sharing information, making it commonly accessible to others on your team, is you don't want them to just be in your little my query section. You want those to be in commonly shared queries that your other team members can work with. This is another big advantage that we get when it comes to working with Power BI and Microsoft Fabric, is that this collaboration factor makes it much easier for us to engage and work with. All right. Well, I'm going to skip over the other points of the demo because without that functionality there, be able to copy that in, and I don't know why it's not. You're going to have a bad experience on it. But I've got some next steps for you guys. Okay. So make sure, if you haven't already, follow me on YouTube. Be running through lots of great stuff. Lots of interviews are coming out. Like I said, I just published a great interview with Arun Ulag. I've got one with Bogdan Kravak coming out. Kim Manis is working on getting back on her calendar. We've had some little holiday snafus there, but we're going to get interviews from her as well. So do check out the website or the Kratos BI YouTube. Go out there and do that. Otherwise, great resource that's available for you is Microsoft Learn. There are a ton of Microsoft Learn programs out there to help you get started in Microsoft Fabric. Today's the day. Take advantage of it. And this is a great way to look at this. Your entire life has been leading up to today. You can do it. You can get started with Microsoft Fabric. These are all things that are possible. And now's a great time to do it. I mean, outside this conference, wait for the conference to be done, attend the next sessions, the next speakers, all that good stuff, but get started working on the programs inside of Microsoft Learn. And then the last piece I highly, highly recommend is get connected with a local community of Fabric developers and Power BI developers. That helps in many different ways. The biggest one is it helps you connect with other professionals in your area that are working through common practices or common problems that you're going to see and you're going to start to experience as you go through this world. And frankly, the data communities out there aren't so massive and large as to be like, hey, there's a million of us. No, there's like, tens of thousands of us. That's it. And in this crazy big, world, it's a real small community to be a member of. Learn the people who are local to you and around. That can really help you when it comes to jobs, or it can help you with problems. And it's a great way to like get connected and stay connected. All right. Now, if you need more help, do feel free to reach out. Send me an email over on dataguy@crisbi.com or chris.wagner@bakertilly.com. Happy to help you out in either way. Don't research what my phone number is and call me. I had someone do that. I mean, it's possible, but it's really creepy. Please don't do that. All right. These 100% connect me through any of these ways. Would love to like have you follow me on LinkedIn and post stuff out there. Happy to have you there. And as well as I'm going to let you know, I just had, why is it not working? It just went down. Oops. Oh, I went to the wrong place. I just published a brand new article. Where is it? On 10 things to stop doing in Microsoft Fabric right now in 2026. You can follow. I have a YouTube video on it, but you can, read the blog that I just posted on Substack. So this is a brand new thing I'm working on. I have a few, I think I just crossed 100 subscribers. No, I'm not even at that. So brand new over there. So you can find me there as well as on TikTok. I'm trying that. So I did one of those AI dance things, but regardless, you guys have the best day ever. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those as well.
So we have a question from a crowd. I see here, Chris, have you tried SMS22 connected to SQL server from Fabric SQL with GitHub Copilot to design, review, and optimize queries and views? Also, it will explain what a query or model is used for or suggest ways to better model the data. Thanks.
Hey, Tom, fantastic question. Thank you for hopping in on it. I'm going to be honest. I personally have not, but my fellow Fabric Friday co-host, Jared Keene, actually has, and he has a whole series of YouTube videos out on the DataBar channel about that. I'd highly recommend going out and checking it out. As with all things AI today, some things work really good. Other things don't. Please make sure that you check and confirm everything before you release the AI on the world. I would not automatically point an agentic AI at the Copilot integrations and execute those commands. You will have a bad time with that. But it is very helpful for people who know what they're doing, who are working or accustomed to working with data, in helping you understand what are some important aspects that you should be looking at as part of your database and environment. Great question.
I have a question too. And this is, what skills should be Power BI developers prioritize to become effective Fabric developers?
So I'm going to say the number one skill you should be looking at, learning and expanding on is SQL. Okay. SQL is useful, just raw native SQL. SQL is useful when you get working inside of Python. SQL is useful in so many different platforms. I'd highly recommend it. I've got a series of videos on how you get started learning SQL. Do check those out. I start them with SQL Server, but you could do them so much easier inside of Fabric. I think start with video 2 or 3 in the series, 10-part series. It's great, and there's like a billion books on getting started with SQL. It's super useful. It's useful on virtually every database platform, and every language needs you to know some SQL. So SQL's a fantastic place to be.
Yeah, thank you. So
My pleasure.
yeah, I think this was a great session and a really good overview. I want to thank you. Our next session is John and Monica Moorhouse with a topic Accelerate Azure SQL platform for optimal performance and costs. I wish you a nice day or good start in the day in the United States. And you're on vacation, I heard that. Have a nice vacation and a good time, and enjoy your holidays.
Thanks, everybody. Have the best day ever.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Microsoft ecosystem is evolving faster than ever. Copilot, Power Platform, security, modern work, Azure AI, new features every week, new opportunities every day. But learning is scattered. Events are expensive, limited, and difficult to access. That changes now. Welcome to M365 Con, the world's largest online Microsoft 365 convention. 2 powerful weeks, 1 week of workshops, 1 week of free global talks and keynotes. Build your own learning path with expert-led workshops. From Power Platform to security, from Copilot to Azure AI, you choose what matters to you. Then join over 60 free sessions with most valuable professionals, Microsoft trainers, architects, and innovators from around the world. Meet the community, explore the virtual expo, connect with experts, and be part of a global Microsoft experience. Accessible, global, interactive, and designed for every Microsoft 365 professional. M365 Con, your community, your learning path, your Microsoft 365 future.